It's time for Twig This Week at Google. Mike Elgin joins us along with Ant Pruitt and Jeff Jarvis. Jeff was on the CBC. It seems the Canadian government's pretty mad at Facebook. But Facebook says, we told you. We'll also talk about some new features on YouTube that let you hum a song to find it. And the passing of a legend, and a man who really helped build the computer era. Plus, we'll talk a lot about AI, and Mike comes up with some pretty interesting AI tools, all of that and a lot more coming up next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig. This Week at Google, episode 730, recorded Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. Phanky Qipek. This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by Panoptica. Reduce the complexity of protecting your workloads and applications in a multi-cloud environment. Panoptica provides comprehensive cloud workload protection integrated with API security to protect the entire application lifecycle. Learn more about Panoptica at panoptica.app. And by Discourse, the online home for your community. Discourse makes it easy to have meaningful conversations and collaborate anytime, anywhere. We know because we use it. Visit discourse.org/twit to get 1 month free on all self-serve plans. And by Bitwarden. Get the open source password manager that can help you stay safe online. Get started with a free Teams or Enterprise plan trial, or get started for free across all devices as an individual user at bitwarden.com/twit. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show we cover all the latest Google-ish news. My frabjous day, Kalu Calais. Jeff Jarvis is knocking things over and is... Hello? What, Leo? He's an old grump. What? He's an old grump on the line. This is all because of this album art from Joe Esposito. Ant and the Old Grumps. That's Ant Pruitt right there. He says, y'all keep me out of this mess.
Please, please, please.
Love Ant Pruitt. He's our community manager. But I didn't get to do the
we got to go back. Yeah.
Because Jeff is, you don't have a jingle for yourself. I'm sure I wish you get one. Jeff is the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York.
Hearty salute to our Craig right now.
Yeah.
Craig, what's going on with Craig?
He's fine. He tweeted something about being in the hospital.
Yeah.
But I emailed him and he says he's okay.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Okay, good. Hope you're feeling better, Craig.
Okay.
He tweeted a heart
if he
thing.
behaved, he could get a visit from a therapy pigeon.
Not a dove, though. Not a dove.
Not a dove. No.
Now, as you know, and if you didn't hear, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad tidings. Stacey Higginbotham has retired, not just from this show, but from podcasting, so that she could go to work as a consumer advocate at Consumers Union, the Consumer Reports people. Yeah, I guess they changed the name. So to Consumer Reports. So yes, Consumer Reports. So in filling in for Stacey Higginbotham in the Stacey seat today, Mike Elgin, our dear friend, who is in the Bay Area briefly in between gastro-nomad adventures. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how you doing? Glad to be here.
So glad to have you.
Always good.
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of friends at Consumer Reports. I gotta check in on.
Isn't that great?
On them and her. And,
I'm so proud of her. That's such a great.
Yeah.
I tell you, anywhere else, I'd be pissed off. But Consumer Union, Consumer Reports. I've been a subscriber for 20 years. Yeah, working on policy. It's perfect.
It makes sense. I mean, toasters, which, which they always review and stuff like that, now have internet connections and computer chips. And so bringing her
expertise. Yeah, is really great. Yeah. Fires continue in Canada. Fires just all over, of course. Yellowknife has been evacuated, 20,000 people in the capital. Man. Heritage Minister says it's all Meta's fault. You remember C-18 passed in the Canadian Parliament, which required that Google and Meta pay news publishers for links back to their sites. So if you are on Facebook and you put a link to the Toronto Globe and Mail, you'd have to pay for that. Facebook would have to pay for that, even though it's sending traffic back to the Toronto Globe and Mail.
Unbelievable.
To which Google and Facebook said, see ya. So now, without news links, by the way, Facebook pointed out only about 3% of our traffic is these news links. People don't get their news on Facebook. It's not a huge deal.
And by the way, nothing stops the news organization from typing into a post, Yellowknife is being evacuated, and putting the actual information there. This is about the links only.
And there are plenty of other places to get your news. But of course, so people may say when they first hear this, oh, shame on you, Meta, because you're endangering people in Yellowknife because Facebook blocks those links. But I say shame on you, Canada, and the Canadian government, because this is a very cynical ploy to get pressure Facebook to come back. Exactly. Canada's heritage minister redoubled her calls for Meta to end its ban on Canadian news content. This is from the Canadian
Trudeau
Press
came
News.
into
And now the Prime Minister weighs in as well. Dudes, you do this, you chase away.
So
you've been warned.
So Facebook was saying it was roughly 2 or 3% from in their analytics that they saw was news stuff.
Yeah, for news links.
What are the news organizations seeing? What are the folks in Canada seeing in their analytics? Are they seeing it as really 80% of their traffic is coming from
Jeff
from
LG, we quoted him a few weeks ago from Village Media in Canada, who's a real innovator in Canada. He said between Google and Facebook together, it's about 50% of his traffic. People start there and it's links. And of course, it's not just links. It's the news organizations themselves linking to stuff, but it's also readers linking to stuff, which you want. And they're cutting off their nose despite their face all around.
Pascal Saint-Onge, which weirdly is the heritage minister in charge of this, says this news block is putting people's lives at risk. But this guy named Jeff Jarvis, a journalism professor at the City University,
some loudmouth American,
University of Newark, tells the Canadian Press News.ca there is some onus on the Canadian government to back down. You said to look for the reckless roots of this problem. Nice to sneak in some alliteration.
A little alliteration.
It never hurts. The heritage minister should look in the mirror. He says the bill is what's reckless, not Facebook. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, there's just two things about it. One is the abdication of responsibility by the government, as if it's Mark Zuckerberg's mission to safeguard the health and safety of the Canadian people rather than the Canadian government. Number one. Number two, by saying that the Meta removal of news links endangers lives, essentially what he's saying is that Meta providing the free service of linking to news in normal times was life-saving. And so they're the ones who chased Meta away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just ridiculous.
Furthermore, Facebook has turned on their safety check feature, which is a great public service that they offer, where people can go to their Facebook page and say, I'm all right, I'm okay, I got evacuated. Cool. Apparently, that 20,000 people have been flown. I was just talking to Richard Campbell on Windows Weekly, he's in Coquitlam, he's in BC. He said that 20,000 people have been flown from Yellowknife down to British Columbia, hundreds of flights to get them out. But they can use Meta to say, I got evacuated, I'm in BC, I'm okay.
Yeah, right. That's good.
That's
they can post
a
any
free
information they want
service
in a post.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the publishers said, how dare you link to us? And now they say, how dare you not link to us?
Yeah, this is the problem with this. Yeah.
And it's been interesting because I did a CBC interview. I did the Canadian press interview. I did a couple radio interviews because I'm a loudmouth American now on this topic. And I thought I would get a lot of pushback from the interviewers. And actually, I haven't. They kind of get it.
Don't tell you so.
Well, there's still a
loudmouth American on every topic, but no. But I saw the interview you did. It was exactly right. My curiosity is around public opinion in Canada. What do the Canadians think? Who are the Canadians blaming for this problem? Are they siding with the government, or are they agree that
I think it's so arcane and inside cricket, this thing, inside hockey, I should say.
Hockey.
That I doubt that there's much public opinion.
I'll tell you exactly what
people
happens.
who are affected are the First Nations in
that's sad.
Northwest Territories.
Yeah.
Well, you were going to say something.
I think what it really comes down to, and this is often the case in our polarized world, is which you hate worse, government or Facebook. And for the people who say, yeah, see, Facebook sucks, this is more proof. And for people who say, yeah, government sucks, this is more proof. And it has nothing to do with the facts of the matter.
The thing about this is that there could be
one way or another.
I'm sorry, Ant.
No, I'm just saying it's just stirring an uproar one way or another. You mentioned it seemed like the people that were interviewing you were fair on this. Should they have been otherwise? Isn't it their job to just try to report the facts and the information?
I love you, man.
I mean, no, I'm saying that's the problem I have with news today is they're not supposed to come out and have their slant one way or another when it comes to a matter of actual facts. Like right now, our folks cannot put this information in Facebook because Facebook has blocked it, period. Next sentence, Facebook blocked it because our government wanted to charge them for putting this in there, period. Those are the facts. It shouldn't have to have some type of political slant one way or another.
You're absolutely right. And the other piece of this too, in terms of who's reasonable or not, is that Facebook and Google, but especially Google, have made clear they'll negotiate. Google said that
they did in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, and they circuited the law there. It didn't ever take effect. And in Canada, they've said, listen, you got to have a cap on this. You can't have some unlimited amount of money.
Why?
You got to have a fair way to distribute the money.
Okay.
Who's deciding this? You got to guarantee the money's going to journalists. Because in this case, the major newspaper chain in Canada is owned by a hedge fund, an American hedge fund.
Oh,
and the money is fungible and it's going to go to their bottom line. But the way the law was written and then passed left no wiggle room at all for negotiation. So now the government's stuck. They might try to, in the regulation, do things like put a cap on and stuff like that. But here's what I think is interesting, my friends. I think Google will end up negotiating something with them. They'll figure it out and they get Google. But Facebook, I think that Facebook is going to say, you know what? Never mind. We don't want any news there. You know what? We don't want any news anywhere. It's a pain.
It's a pain.
It's controversial. We've been waiting for this excuse. Thank you very much, Canada. We'll blame you for the whole world having fewer links to news, which does affect the news ecosystem. It does affect the citizenry. It's not good. But I don't blame Facebook at this point for saying, I
was wondering how long it would take for them to backtrack on this now that this tragedy has happened. And
they've held firm.
Is this something that we'll see fixed at the end of the year?
Now, it hasn't fully become law, right?
It's been signed into law. It hasn't hit the date yet.
Okay.
That's all.
So they
But
did
Facebook
this
said we're doing it.
kind of proactively, knowing that they were at some point going to have to do this. Mike Masnick's headline, Canadian media organization said that Meta linking to news was anti-competitive. Now they say not linking to news is anti-competitive. Mike writes, this is just so painfully obnoxious. The legacy news media spurred on by a welfare system that pretend free market supporter Rupert Murdoch dreamed up and convinced governments to implement, whereby the government would force internet companies, which had innovated and created new business models that worked, to suddenly be required to pay for sending traffic to legacy news media organizations, which failed to innovate. It's extreme corporate welfare egged on by a guy who pretends to be against all kinds of welfare. And as a true liberal, I will add that welfare in this country is always for the rich, not for the poor.
Yep.
We don't want poor people to get any welfare. We don't want any subsidies for poor people. But, oh, by the way.
Can I have some, please? Thanks. Can you bail me out? Thanks.
Canada. The other point that Jeff made, the other point that Jeff made that I thought was right on, of course, is that we have norms about how the internet works. You have hyperlinks that link to other content, and nobody's paying anybody for those links. And that's the way it's supposed to work. And I was casting about in my mind for an analogy. And one analogy would be from the media. So let's say, for example, you have a newspaper that has a restaurant review section. They recommend a restaurant. There's like, their chicken a la king is fantastic. You should go there. Here's the address. Should they have to pay the restaurant for directing people to that restaurant and providing the address of that restaurant and showing pictures of the restaurant, showing pictures of the food and all that kind of stuff.
You know what shocks me, Mike?
Of course
be
not.
the other way around.
What shocks me here, wait a second. What shocks me here, Mike, I just got to get this in here, is that in your brain, where you eat the most phenomenal food all the time, all around the world, your brain struggles to pick an example of food, and you pick chicken a la king.
Well, well,
where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's been in Morocco too long. He misses good old American food.
I just try to think about what Canadians eat. I don't know what they eat.
Campbell's mushroom soup.
Trying to relate to us peasants.
So Michael Geist, if you want the Canadian point of view, he is wonderful. He's been lobbying against C-18 since day one. He's Canadian Research Chair in Internet and E-commerce Law at the University of Ottawa, a member of the Center for Law, Technology, and Society. He writes on his blog, and this is actually a very good point. This is from the Canadian point of view. The rhetoric about Bill C-18 has escalated in recent days in light of the awful wildfires in the Northwest Territories and British Columbia. In my view, again, this is Michael's Geist, the issues associated with these tragic events have little to do with Meta blocking news links, and the attempt to bring it into the conversation is a transparent attempt to score political points. The reality is Meta was asked about just this scenario at committee and made it clear that it would not block any non-news outlet links. This is precisely what's been happening. In other words, they told everybody. And the government's legislative choices
updates all they want.
Should be the starting point for understanding why compliance with the law involves blocking a very broad range of news links that extend even beyond those sources that are defined as eligible news outlets. In other words, this is all about political posturing. What a surprise. And maybe deflecting some responsibility. The connectivity with some Northwest Territory communities completely taken offline for days is somehow never mentioned, says Geist. The law has yet to take effect. There is room to address their concerns in the regulation-making process. That's what the government and supporters of Bill C-18 are saying. He says both of these claims are incredibly deceptive, relying on the assumption most won't bother to read the actual legislation. If they did, they would see, 1, the law has received royal assent and can take effect any time. And 2, the regulation-making process addresses only a small subset of Bill C-18 issues. With most of the core issues, they're done, they're finalized. In other words, the time to shape the law and address many of the key concerns was before the government repeatedly cut off debate in order to ensure that it received royal assent before the summer break. So even this Canadian media, Canadian news journal interview that you did, even there,
CP.
The Canadian CPN, Canadian Press News, is that like a news service?
CP, yeah, it's the AP of Canada.
The AP of Canada. Even then, even in this article, they said Bill C-18 is not in effect yet. Says St. Ange. This means Meta is not yet on the hook to pay for any news sites, so why did they turn it off?
Right.
Makes just, but you know what? This the reason I bring this up, it's really got much more to do. It's not just Canada. This is in general the attitude towards big tech. That big tech is at fault. Whatever goes wrong, it's big tech's fault. And this is an easy
and we need to rein in the big tech companies.
Yeah, right? But it's an easy whipping boy for the flaws, the faults of the government.
Yes.
Let's blame big tech
as a whole.
Yeah, or society.
And it's also about what disturbs me as a journalist is you have news organizations that are cashing in the political capital they earned through journalism to lobby for protectionist legislation. It's not only happening in Canada. Obviously, we know about Australia. We know about Germany. We know about Europe. It's also happening in Switzerland. It's also happening big time in Brazil. Some really new and bad legislation happening there. And it's spreading around the world. And it affects everyone's speech. It affects our speech.
I will continue, though, because it does then, once you realize that, protect a little bit big tech in where they shouldn't be protected. There is definitely stuff to worry about with big tech.
Sure.
Just not this. And so it has a negative effect on our dialogue in 2 ways. One, it deflects blame from, society and the government, all this stuff, and puts it on big tech. But 2, it kind of paints over the really legitimate things we should be complaining about with big tech and things we should be considering regulating
surveillance
or fixing, like
big tech and society too, Leo.
Surveillance.
Like we think
but I don't want
made us hate or made us be.
I understand. I agree with you 100%.
Right?
But my point is that in defending big tech, I am not defending all of
those
big
companies.
tech.
Right.
No.
Right.
But definitely there are issues. Big tech has gotten so big, and actually our next story is relevant to this. We were talking about it before the show, which is the incredible New Yorker profile of Elon Musk by Ronan Farrow, whose last topic was Me Too, of course, and he took down the biggest of Me Too offenders with his articles. Now Farrow's looking at big tech. He writes the title of the article, Elon Musk's Shadow Rule. That's remember that. How the U.S. government came to rely on the tech billionaire and is now struggling to rein him in. Because government decided they weren't going to spend money on space and other things, this has given tech entrepreneurs, a chance to move in, in effect, privatize it, yeah. Traditional government roles like space exploration. And now the government's scratching their heads because Elon, for instance, and this is what Farrow talks about, the Ukrainian army is entirely dependent on SpaceX's Starlink internet access for their frontline forces. And if Elon turns it off, Farrow says, and I think a lot agree, including Mark Milley, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, it ends the war. The Ukraine loses because they have no battlefield communications. And so that gives one somewhat nutty guy, let's face it, an immense amount of power. And he even says, I've been on the phone every week with Vladimir Putin. That's terrifying.
Yeah. And the other, the thing about it is that democracy is messy. Democracy doesn't satisfy everyone. And there's a lot of there are a lot of governments around the world that would love to slide into dictatorship or some kind of one person rule, and that's the problem. That's one of the problems with corporate rule or this whole problem of Elon Musk's shadow rule, which is that Elon Musk personally can behave like a dictator. As you said, he can say, well, you know what, I'm going to swing the war for Russia. Throw a switch and there it is. I'm gonna blanket the country with charging stations that support Tesla only. He could choose any of these things like a dictator. A democratic government couldn't choose any of these things easily. Right?
Let's say he does this stuff though, Mr. Elgin. Then what happens?
Yeah.
Does he suffer any consequences for his actions?
Well, who knows? I mean, $200 billion or $250 billion or whatever he's worth. He could go anywhere. He could do anything. He's not going to ever want for anything ever, no matter what. He's proving that with the money he's wasting on Twitter.
So he could just leave the US and be fine because
he's untouchable. He's uncancelable. He's beyond anybody's reach, and I think that's the point that.
And Ronan Farrow makes this point that Shanghai produces half of all of Tesla's cars. So his financial fortune depends on the goodwill of Chinese officials. Right. He is treated like a visiting head of state when he goes to China.
Yeah.
Better, frankly, than a visiting head of state.
Met with higher level people in China than our government has lately.
Musk was welcomed to Beijing this spring with what Reuters summarized as, quote, flattery and feasts. So this guy has immense and growing power, but you nailed it a second ago, and I don't know, it's not even mentioned in this article, but Jeff, you said he also controls elections. And honestly, I'm starting to become convinced that he bought Twitter for one and one only reason, is for political power.
Yeah,
and I think
you said that from the beginning. Back when this was a story of him being
no one really knows. I was speculating, but now I'm starting to think this is the.
I want to go back.
This
to
is what everyone was saying when he was going to buy Twitter. I'm sorry, Jeff, step on you, but they were like, oh my goodness, what is he going to change the algorithm on Twitter to favor the Chinese point of view? Those concerns almost seem quaint given what's happened with Twitter now. But if you want to take that to an extreme, imagine if the Chinese government invaded Taiwan and there was a Western alliance led by the United States opposing Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Elon Musk, whose side would he take?
Well, and not just Elon Musk, Tim Cook.
Don't go there.
But Tim Cook is
he's the golden boy here.
The Apple is owned by its shareholders, which are, by and large American investors and so on. He's more of a reliable player who's trying to be publicly ethical, on behalf of the company. And
but you're trusting him as a personality. That's apart from systems. I want to go back to Ant's question, because Ant's question was right on target. Is what's the accountability of Musk? And Ant, as you ask that question, I think that we have to come to the law. And in anything that we have listed, but Musk could do, I'm not sure that he's violating any law. Right. I'm not sure that there's any.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one right now.
To stop him.
From the Ronan Farrow article. He wanted to launch. FAA said you cannot. Mm-hmm. We need to do a safety investigation. He launched anyway. Mm-hmm. There have been no repercussions. The FAA issued no fine. Mostly because they said it didn't see a fine would make any difference.
That's been.
But it grounded SpaceX for 2 months, and that might have hurt him a little. But he honestly, that's why he moved his launch pads to Boca Chica, Texas, to private property that he owns, because he doesn't want to be beholden to any government agency.
So if he turned off Starlink in Ukraine, if he supported China against American interests regarding Taiwan, if he turned Twitter entirely into Trump land, there is no accountability for any of those actions. So I think, and so right now, even if he did violate law and he has so much money, he could go to some other country. He could go to Russia overnight. But even apart from that, there's no check on him. None.
And my point, the reason I brought up Tim Cook, and you're right, it's more complicated with Apple, but the reason I brought it up is there really is no accountability for any of these big tech companies.
Yes.
And so Elon is just an example of what is going on. These companies have gotten too big to fail. They have so much power. Google basically runs the internet. If you're not on the Google search engine, you do not exist, right? As a website or even as a business, to be honest.
Everybody's on.
Well, so the answer to that is, Leo, I go back to my shame that I didn't follow your lead long ago and say there's trouble in this privatization of our internet. We've got to support places like Mastodon, as small as they might be. On a matter of principle, the best thing we can do is to support competition to these companies. We talked last week about whether or not this moneyed VC corporate thing was a necessary phase in the internet. I'm not sure either way. But in any case, the only answer is competition with these big guys. And
well, in the United States, China detected the rising power of tech giants and started in 2020 with a giant crackdown. They cracked down on the Ant Group, no offense, Ant, Tencent, Baidu, JD.com, ByteDance, etc. And they, what's his name went into hiding. Jack Ma, I believe.
Yeah.
Just vanished for, I don't know how long that was. And they really have demonstrated to the Chinese tech giants, you're not going to even come close to challenging the power of the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government.
By the way, there may be some evidence that they did that at their peril. This week, yes. New York Times, as China falls into deflation, the mood turns dark. Chinese economy is tumbling.
Their housing market is like half the economy, and it's in serious trouble. So China looks like Japan in the 90s.
So Leo, back to Musk. I'm going to be fascinated. I put the link up in the Twitch chat. Walter Isaacson's authorized biography.
Oh God, that's going to be such a hagiography. It's going to be terrible.
I think so, don't you? It's going to affect his reputation.
What did you say, Isaacson? What?
So Walter Isaacson,
authorized biography,
who's a well-known biographer. His best known is this most recent one he did on Steve Jobs, but he's also written about Einstein and others. I never thought he was. I'm reading Robert Caro's amazing book about Robert Moses. I've read the LBJ books. that's a great biographer. Mm-hmm. And by the way, extremely critical. And his whole thesis on both those series, the Caro book is so long, is that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so compare that with Isaacson, who basically gets all this access and then writes well, let me read from the Amazon. His father's impact on his psyche would linger. He developed into a tough yet vulnerable man-child, prone to abrupt Jekyll and Hyde mood swings with an exceedingly high tolerance for risk, a craving for drama, an epic sense of mission, and a maniacal intensity that was callous and at times destructive. Okay, that's all true, but he says later that whenever there was trouble, whenever he was in a dark place, his mind went back to being bullied on the playground. Aww.
Now he had a chance to own the playground.
Yeah.
So it's a psychoanalysis of this nut job with, I don't know, we can tell this is just promotional copy, but it feels like more empathy than I want to give the guy.
Yeah, Ashley Vance's excellent biography of Musk is recommended, although he wrote it before Musk went off the deep end. I think clearly there was something that happened that Elon has. I don't think it's the same Elon of 10 years ago, but maybe it is. Maybe we just didn't know.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I don't want to make it about Elon. It's really about, it's the structure. It's government has essentially pulled back ever since Reagan. The fear of socialism has gotten so extreme that private enterprise rules. And now you have these companies that are so massive, so big, they can't be challenged.
They're doing everything they can within the bounds that they have.
They can't be regulated, and they can't be competed with. And that's actually a big one, because I don't think we've already seen many companies try to do a better search engine than Google, and they have, but they've failed nevertheless because Google's the default. And
you're still bitter about Neva.
I'm very bitter. It was better, and it was amazing, but didn't have a shot.
Yeah.
And an answer to a question I've had for a long time, which is normally the answer would be, there's a business cycle. Every company rises and falls. It's like IBM. They were dominant and then they weren't. And that's going to happen to these guys too. And it's very short-sighted to say, there's nobody ever going to challenge, Facebook. Look at MySpace. But I'm starting to think that it is possible for a company to get to a point where they are, in fact, not going to be subject to the business cycle, that they are so dominant that there will be no competition. And furthermore, they're too big to fail, so there'll be no regulation. And
that's where I have a little more hope than you do. So Facebook, I think we would all say is fading. It's still powerful, it's still rich, but it's
fading,
a lot less.
I would say because of their own
users.
Yeah, but they're
their own stupidity. But that's a factor.
They brought it on themselves. Yeah.
Google has lost a lot of mojo. It has huge competition coming up from Amazon and advertising. I think the one area where the regulators never struck, where they are going to strike and will have a case to strike, is in advertising. They'll break up some part of that hegemony they have.
That will be the litmus test. I agree.
Yeah.
If they can do that, then there is hope. It remains to be seen that they'll be able to do that.
And I use all these Google services. I still basically like Google. I find they do fascinating things. I'm disappointed in their lack of momentum. I'm disappointed that they become better known for killing things than starting things. But I've always said the one area where they are vulnerable is advertising. And that's the core of the company. And so we'll see what happens. That's Lena Khan's test too.
Yeah, it is. It can't come fast enough for us because basically podcasting is dying thanks to Google and Facebook. It's impossible for us to get advertising because we can't compete.
It's also thanks to stupid advertisers who shouldn't be doing programmatic.
Well,
they should be doing
I agree. Lisa's at
like
Podcast Movement right now. And every time I talk to her every night, she says, we're dead. Everybody's going DAI, direct ad insertion. Everybody wants metrics. Everybody's talking about how can we put pixels on your pages? How can we monitor your audience? And I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. Podcasting is an RSS feed. And we know very little about it. All our ads are context sensitive. They're not driven by
their environment.
Yeah, the environment. And she says, that's all anybody's talking about at Podcast Movement.
Oh man,
I know you guys know this, but I don't know how much of the audience, the U.S. audience, knows this. But when I listen to podcasts abroad, half the podcasts I listen to insert a local language advertising.
Right.
So I'm in Italy, and all of a sudden the ads are all in Italian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, this is just feels like a disconnect with the audience.
But that's, by the way, going to happen to our shows too. When we don't, this show, it will not. We've sold all the units for this show, but if we were short, as we are often with this show and all of our shows, we open a slot for a company called AdvertisedCast, which was owned by Libsyn. I have good feelings about Libsyn. They started in podcasting about when I did. They're good people. I know them very well. And I think AdvertisedCast is very good. But yeah, you're going to get a Spanish language ad in Spain. That's part of why DAI, because they may not know anything about you, Mike. They certainly don't know that you speak English and not Spanish.
Right.
But they know that your IP address is in Spain.
Yep.
So they play, or Italy.
They'll
or
grab
whatever.
any data they can get.
Exactly.
So Leo, I had some years ago, about right before the pandemic, basically the inventor of programmatic advertising into an event about the future of journalism business at my school. And he lectured all the media people in the room who were high-level executives and said, why the heck are you going to programmatic? It's not meant for you. It was meant to increase some direct response. What are you doing this for? You're commodifying yourself. And one of the CROs in the room said, I don't have any choice.
There's no choice. Advertisers.
That's where the advertisers are. Yeah. So that's where I have to go. So a lot of the blame about the pressure here lays with the advertisers.
Actually,
nobody wants to argue with that.
It isn't the advertisers, really. It's the advertising agencies.
Agencies, yes.
And there's a lot of weird stuff. Honestly, they don't give a damn. They're not. The advertiser, we can have when we have a direct relationship with an advertiser, it's always good. And it always results in effective advertising, and it doesn't involve snooping. But that's
the agency tries to stop you from having that relationship.
Yeah,
constantly.
The agency's almost, and I understand if you're an advertiser, you don't have time to go to every podcast and buy an ad. You're going to go to an agency and let them do it all. But that's where your trouble.
We need reform in. People who like Shoshana Zuboff and Tristan Harris, who say that advertising is the source of all the evil. Well, if we lost advertising, we lose a lot of content like this, and we lose a lot of value like this. We've got to have a discussion about reforming advertising. But I don't know how that happens. If I were a foundation, I would put money behind that.
What you're going to get is what you're getting here, which is you're going to get ultimately a paywall or a subscriber service. The club has helped us a lot, but it's 1% of our audience. It's not. It's a tiny fraction.
It's so voluntary. It's like a volunteer army.
Yeah, and I don't want to put up a paywall. Partly because with tech podcasts you can't, because the audience is sophisticated enough to get around a paywall. Yeah. So there's no point.
Start your knitting podcast.
Smart geeks.
It's much better to do a knitting podcast. Yeah, much better. That's, by the way, it's interesting. I was just reading the Hollywood Reporter's top 50 podcasters and the movers and shakers of the podcast world, and it's all people like Emma Chamberlain and Call Her Daddy, who are doing podcasts for normal people that are not technically savvy, and they're paywalled behind Spotify. Oh. And of course they have a lot. One of the reasons Spotify does exclusives is because then you have to use their app. Then they have all the information they could ever want about you. Right?
What's the latest with Spotify in terms of what they seem to be wanting to take over the industry, and then they kind of pulled back?
Yeah, so I'm not a genius in this, but my opinion is during COVID there were a lot of celebrities who didn't have anything to do. Maybe during the strike there aren't either. Yep. So they started podcasts.
Every single one of them did.
And Spotify saw this as a real, from Spotify's point of view, they were trying to get out from under the record labels. They had no control over their business because the record labels told them what to pay them. So they said, we got to find some content. So they went to podcasts, and there were all these celebrities. They paid a lot of money, spent $100 million on Joe Rogan, spend $60 million on
Harry and Meghan too.
Harry and Meghan got all this, celebrity content, and none of it worked. None of it made any money, and so they've fired much of their staff. They've got, unfortunately, they still have to pay Joe Rogan.
Still got to pay the talent.
They still have to pay Call Her Daddy. So, they're kind of. I think Daniel Ek now thinks in his mind this was a mistake, but I understand why he did it. He needs some sort of content.
They just announced some more stuff today for podcasters.
Spotify
new tools, customized pages, analytics, other controls.
What they're trying to do is there is a vast podcast universe. Nobody makes any money, but if you get a little crumb from every one of them, you can be rich. So they want
a Google strategy.
Yeah, they just want to be the platform. Yeah, they want to be the platform.
Mr. Jarvis, was it?
But
I want Mike to hold on a second. I want Mike to say something because we've been talking all over him and he's been trying to get in. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, no, just one point is that I just had a snarky comment about the celebrity podcast. They're all the same. They're all exactly the same. They have their peers on, and they're like, "How did you get famous? Oh my god!
Oh my god!
It's so boring.
You're so wonderful.
How did you get so wonderful? I wanted to make, which is the internationalization of podcasting, is coming very, very soon. There's already tools out there where you can upload a video, and what it'll do is it'll translate the entire thing into the language, any language that you choose from a menu, and it will even sync it up with a video.
I thought YouTube was already doing that.
This will be done automatically and at scale, and you'll be able to. The Twig will be available in 50 languages automatically, and so you get this much larger audience. However, everybody's going to be doing this, and so all the podcasts will be available in all the languages within a matter of 2 or 3 years, I think.
Wasn't YouTube already working on that? Or
yeah, I don't know if it's YouTube, but there are some other tools out there like that, and it's kind of fascinating. Like I've been writing for, I write for Foundry, is one of the companies I write for. Computer World is the main publication, and they translate my columns into 20, 30 languages as a matter of course, and it's pretty great. I hear from people in Korea, Germany, and all these other places who read it in the native language. But I think that's definitely coming. Through the magic of AI to podcasts.
Yeah, we're actually looking at AI translations of many of our shows into we'll probably start with Spanish language. Yeah,
it's a complicating factor for advertising, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we're looking at everything.
Some of it's pretty good. Some of it,
the funny thing is really, I always, and maybe I'm just old. I come back to fundamentals. It's the relationship you have as a host with your audience.
Yes.
Yep.
And anything that comes in between you and the audience is a negative. And that's why I thought the club was the best way to go. I still think it is. But
yeah.
Anyway, I worry. So get back. Screw us. What about big tech?
What about Big Elon? Big Elon.
I don't know. There's nothing more to say about Elon. Do read that New Yorker profile.
Yeah,
it's a little chilling only because he has so much power and there is no ability to control it. To answer your question,
I would tweak that a little bit, Leo, and say there's no will politically to control it. Nobody's doing anything about this.
True,
They're
Mike,
too busy
true.
sucking up to Elon to actually say, "Hey, we have a problem. It's a systemic problem. These companies, Elon Musk is not the first American oligarch to have so much power. He won't be.
You're right. Rockefeller.
We need a systematic approach to this problem. And I don't hear anybody in Washington having this conversation.
No.
I was done with thinking he would ever get punished or suffer repercussions for his actions back when he was tweeting about Dogecoin and all of that back in the day. And
he's still doing that now.
And making all kinds of things happen with the market based on his stupid tweets. And he didn't have to pay the price for any of that stuff. So I was done.
Farrow writes, the meddling of oligarchs and other moneyed interests in the fate of nations is not new. During the First World War, J.P. Morgan let vast sums to the Allied powers. Afterwards, John D. Rockefeller Jr. poured money into the fledgling League of Nations. The investor George Soros' Open Society Foundations underwrote civil society reform in post-Soviet Europe. Casino mogul Sheldon Adelson funded right-wing media in Israel as part of his support of Benjamin Netanyahu. But those are influence. Those are influence. Murdoch. Those are all influence strategies. Musk has gone past that. They need him now.
Yes.
They need
part of
him.
Part of the reason is that all these other wealthy companies and wealthy people were dabbling in the margins. Musk is involved in the national highway system in terms of the electrification of the fleet. He's involved in our space program. He's involved in
speech
communications. Right, exactly. But with both X and also with Starlink. And so it's really, I don't think that we've ever had a wealthy person who has so much control over the fundamental things that government historically has been involved.
And we as the voters, because we don't trust government, have really made government turn away from that and turn to other issues. Farrow writes, in the past 20 years, against a backdrop of crumbling infrastructure and declining trust in institutions, Musk has sought out business opportunities in crucial areas where, after decades of privatization, the state has receded. The government is now reliant on him, but struggles to respond to his risk-taking, brinksmanship, and caprice. Current and former officials from NASA, the Department of Defense, the Department of Transportation, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the Occupational Safety and Health Administration told me, Ronan Farrow, that Musk's influence has become inescapable in their work. Can you see the broad range? And several of them say they now treat him like a sort of unelected official. Yeah. And so this is what worries me, is we're moving to a government of the technocrats. At least a shadow government of the technocrats, if not an actual government of the technocrats.
Hold on, isn't technocrat a definition of someone who's in government?
Oh, does a crat make it government?
I don't know. Technocrat.
A better word would be technology crat.
No, it's an exponent or advocate of technocracy.
One Pentagon spokesman told Farrow he was keeping Musk apprised of my inquiries about his role in Ukraine and would grant an interview with an official only with Musk's permission.
Wow.
We'll talk to you if Elon wants us to, he told me.
That much power.
Somebody asked him in a podcast whether he has more influence than the American government. Musk said, in some ways. The source for some of this is Reid Hoffman, who was one of the PayPal mafia, later founded LinkedIn. Pretty good guy, I think.
Yes.
Reid Hoffman told Farrow, Musk's attitude is like Louis XIV. L'État c'est moi. The state is me.
L'internet c'est moi. Technocracy, the government or control of society or industry by an elite of technical experts. So you can have a technocracy inside government or outside government.
I think it's at this point a shadow government, and it's increasingly powerful.
I think it is.
When Tim Cook goes to both China and the White House, and both defer to him because of his immense power, but he must also defer to them, that's part of it. It's his relationship, and
Musk has a different. Musk can. Well, so I mean, the two things he's said in the last week is, one, I'm going to get rid of blocking, so I'm going to ruin public discourse far more, and then two, he's going to get rid of headlines in cards, which either is something just plain stupid or it's something having to do with France. I won't go into that.
I don't understand what he's up to.
But he just does these things where he has the power to, in fact, do these things.
That's the word caprice in a nutshell.
Yes,
capricious.
That's it.
Let's take a little break. I'm sure there's some Google stuff we can dredge up
somewhere. I thought I saw it at least one time in the rundown.
There's something.
That was just a title.
Somebody has coined a new term in our IRC, technogarch. He's a technogarch. I like it.
Nice one.
An autocrat.
Nice one.
An autocrat. Our show today brought to you by Panoptica. In this rapidly evolving landscape of cloud security, Cisco Panoptica is at the forefront, revolutionizing the way you manage your microservices, your workloads, with a unified and simplified approach to managing the security of cloud-native applications over the entire life cycle. Panoptica simplifies cloud-native security by reducing tools, vendors, and complexity. By meticulously evaluating for security threats and vulnerabilities, Panoptica ensures your applications remain secure and resilient. Panoptica detects security vulnerabilities on the go, in development, in testing, and production environments, including any exploits in open source software. It also protects against known vulnerabilities in container images, configuration drift, all while providing runtime policy-based remediation. As Cisco's comprehensive cloud application security solution, Panoptica ensures seamless scalability across clusters and multi-cloud environments. It offers a unified view through a simplified dashboard experience, reducing operational complexity, fostering collaboration among developers, SREs, and SecOps teams. Take charge of your cloud security. Address security issues across your application stack faster and with precision. Embrace Panoptica as your trusted partner in securing APIs, serverless functions, containers, and Kubernetes environments, allowing you to transform the way you protect your valuable assets. Learn more about Panoptica. Go to panoptica.com. Panoptica.app. Panoptica. How about that? Panoptica. Panoptica.app. It's pan across Optica. View across. Panoptica.app. Right? It comes from the Panopticon. I'm sure Mike Elgin knows what the Panopticon was.
This I did not know.
Do you know what the Panopticon is? Anybody?
Sure.
It was invented by English philosopher and social theorist Jeremy Bentham.
Oh, I know Jeremy.
You remember Jeremy?
He's a cool guy.
So the whole idea,
Jerry to you.
This was in 1791. The whole idea was to build a prison where jailers could observe the prisoners without being observed themselves. So the prisoners would never know when they're being watched or not.
Oh.
So they would always assume that they were being watched, or could not assume they weren't be. So they would be careful and nice.
Right.
The Panopticon prison. Jeremy Bentham.
They also designed it. The idea was also for hospitals or any number of institutions where you have lots of people that you want to watch.
It's better with prisons, though. Really.
Yeah.
Only on This Week in Google.
They actually build them. They built some. Yeah, you can Google it. Panopticon.
And there was a novel by Jenny Fagan called The Panopticon.
See, I knew you'd know.
Which I did not read.
Yeah, I knew you'd know.
What's the good word, sir? What's the good Google word?
I think Mike put. So one of you put one in about YouTube.
I'm exhausted now. I'm just so tired. I just want to go back to bed. What YouTube has I put this one in our. This is the changelog. Which one are you talking about with YouTube?
Oh, that one.
Search
I put
feature?
two in. One is the a feature where you hum music.
Yeah,
But wait a minute, didn't
whatchamacallit do that?
Yeah, I thought whatchamacallit did that. Hey, whatchamacallit?
Shazam.
Shazam. That only works if you whistle into the mic
and irritate the listeners.
Yeah, they hate it. No whistling. SoundHound and Music Match also.
In newsrooms, it was a major superstition that you could not whistle. You did not whistle. It was like whistling in the graveyard,
really?
and editors would throw things at you if you started whistling in the newsroom.
Wow.
Does that come? I feel like that's like a sailor's superstition too. Like, don't whistle.
It's that kind of thing, yeah.
On the boat. And no women allowed. YouTube announced a new experiment on Android devices that, should I try it on my Pixel, that determines a song via humming. Apple's Shazam does this. As noted on YouTube's support page, the video sharing platform is testing a search by song capability on the Android version of the app that allows users to figure out a song on YouTube. But is it YouTube or YouTube Music? It says YouTube.
It just says YouTube.
Okay, let me try it. Here's YouTube. Users who you have to access the experiment. And then toggle from YouTube voice search to the new song search feature.
Oh, you're going to end up on a terminal. I know it.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Let's go to the terminal. Yeah. Anyway, so you can turn it on, but you have to. It's an experiment. So I don't know where I.
Well, there's another story.
Which means it's ready to go for Google.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. There seems to be a lot of bikini-rich content in my Google shorts.
And
only yours, Leo.
I agree with
Only
Scooter X.
yours.
It seems like this is something that they've been working on for a while, and we talked about it previously. But now I guess it's ready.
Google says it's AI. I see.
Of course,
the search
AI.
by song capability is only available to a small portion of Android users. So don't count on it. It's another one of those experiments.
Mr. Scooter X found a link, sir, in our IRC. Blog.google.products, search hum to search.
Yeah, but does that mean I can turn it on? Or
That's from 2020.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, from 2020.
Old news.
But it is new news because
it's now, quote, ready, right? That's it.
Google. This is Google in a nutshell.
Yes.
It is.
Well, we forgot we did that 2 years ago.
I'm glad Mr. Elgin is here because he can go ahead and go on this rant about leadership and Mr. Pichai. So whenever you're ready,
it's all Sundar's fault.
Just replay the old one.
Well, that does lead to the other Google story, which is a roundup of all the executive changes there, which when you look at it, it's a lot.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, well, we know that Ruth Porat stepped up or sideways up, I guess. Susan Wojcicki left. Urs Holzel, employee number 8, left. Wojcicki, one of the most prominent women in Silicon Valley, in February announced she was stepping back after 9 years. This is from CNBC. After 25 years at Google. In fact, she met Larry and Sergey when she lent her garage to them to use as their first office. She's going to start a new chapter. I imagine a chapter
on one of her boats
that is made out of $1,000 bills.
Going to go back to renting the garage.
Yes, yeah, that was a good business there.
Yeah.
Robert Kinsel, you remember, left quite a while ago. He was their chief business officer, became CEO of Warner Music Group. Why anybody would want to run a music label is beyond me.
Well, they're in better shape than they used to be,
I guess. So yeah, this is. I mean, this is. I think this is pretty normal. You could do the same thing about Apple, certainly about Microsoft, especially once
hoping
companies
to give Mike some hope here.
Once the stock gets to a certain point, people start to look at their balance and say,
"Okay, I'm good."
How many hundreds of millions does a guy need, really?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest of these, I think, and it's not the latest, but Susan Wojcicki was at Google for, I think she was CEO for 9 or 10n years, something like that. Which
she
is
did
a long
good
time.
job at YouTube, I have to say.
She did.
You can really credit her with a good
job.
A job well done. Yeah.
And by the way, just as a trivia point, her sister is the head of 23andMe.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you guys know that.
I did know that. Yes.
Their mother's a major influencer for raising successful children. So
she's also I know her well. She's the journalism teacher at Palo Alto High.
Yes.
Right. Oh, Anna and Susan's mom. What's her name? Do you remember?
Esther.
That's right.
Esther.
She's the teacher, Mr. Jarvis?
Teaches journalism.
Yes. High school. Yeah.
She should teach what to do with your garage. How to make money renting your garage.
Text used to excite me. And you got on britches. You got on denim.
Those aren't my britches. I don't own any britches that look like that. He's got somebody else's britches.
Got denim on.
Another sticker. If
you were in the club, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah. You got to be in the club to see the stickers. Jeff, you've posted a few unpopular opinions about AI.
Yeah, nobody cared. Nobody paid attention, but I thought I'd try to get it here. So I wanted to mention it because it was inspired by my conversation last week with Jason on his upcoming AI show. So as we were talking through a bunch of stuff before Jason did a great demo of something, I come to wonder whether or not ChatGPT and company will give all of AI cooties. Now, anything that generative AI does and does stupidly or is misused or lies or hallucinates in the misnomer of the world is associated with AI. And I think it's going to come to the point where people just aren't going to trust AI because, it messes up all the time.
It's just more crappy AI.
I think you're getting a little bit of that, a lot of that right now, in my opinion.
We were talking about this yesterday at the editorial meeting, and was it you, Benito, or somebody, maybe Victor, said, I can immediately sense that this is AI written, and I just skim right over it.
Skips right over it.
You've developed a radar for AI. What we were debating, though, was kind of interesting, and I actually have to amend my thoughts. So what I was saying is we're looking at a way, because our show notes are all over the place. Some shows are very good, some they're not. It depends on the hosts. And I don't do anything, so it's not me.
No comment.
So I just talk. I don't write. So we were looking at AI taking the transcripts of the show and generating useful show notes. And we had a sample, and I said, I could tell it's written by a machine. It has no point of view. It has no voice. It's just kind of generic. And I said, I think people are going to quickly start to recognize that kind of writing and tune it out, which is good for us because to the extent that we do stuff that humans create, we're going to stand out. And I think it's
because AI doesn't just whistle out of nowhere, and start humming. We do that.
Well, I was wrong. So really, it was an issue of prompt engineering. Anthony Nielsen, our AI wizard here, just basically added one line to the show notes. Try to include the hosts and guests' positions on the topic, and the show notes suddenly, I don't even know how this happened. They suddenly got emojis and they got position. This is from yesterday's Mac Break Weekly, and I thought this is better than anything we could write on this week's InfoPack Mac Break Weekly. Because really, the whole point of show notes, there's twofold. One is to get people to listen to the show. The other is when they've listened to the show and they want to find something, to be able to find something. So that's what the show notes are about. Our show notes are going to be written this way too, by the way, because this is awesome. On this week's InfoPack Mac Break Weekly, Leo and the guests dive into the latest Apple news and rumors, including whether you should disinfect your bacteria-ridden Apple Watch, iOS 16 and macOS updates, speculation around Apple acquiring Disney, the evolution of corporate hype presentations, and much more. So here's the bullet points. So at first it just said, should you wash your Apple Watch band? Then now the new one has an emoji of a bacterium and says, should you sanitize your bacteria-ridden Apple Watch? The hosts say yes to good hygiene, but question this, quote, news.
Isn't
that good?
That's good.
What would improve that further is that I love the prompt. One of the best prompts people who are doing this sort of thing can use is to specify that you want it in plain language. Because ChatGPT tries to be creative, and it's weird. Like bacteria-ridden Apple Watch, the word "ridden"
weird.
Feels like a ChatGPT kind of word. It's not a great
Here's
word
the prompt.
Like it's just kind of stops you in your tracks.
I think Anthony's become the prompt.
Yeah, he's expert at it now.
He says, this is the prompt we gave. And by the way, it's not ChatGPT. It's something called Claude, right?
Claude.
I don't know who Claude is.
Claude is better than ChatGPT at this sort of thing, for sure.
Oh, you know Claude.
Claude AI.
Oh, yeah, Claude is
the new version is really good.
The company.
Is it Anthropic?
Yeah, Anthropic.
Yes.
Here's the prompt. You are a producer for a tech-focused podcast network, writing detailed, engaging, and he added click-worthy notes for this episode of Mac Break Weekly, hosted by, and he gave the hosts' names, which helped because then it was able to say the names. Using the attached AI-generated transcript, write the show notes in the following format: a short paragraph summarizing the episode's most important topics, followed by a bullet-pointed list of every topic discussed in chronological order. Try to include the hosts' and guests' positions on the topics. That was the prompt. So it tells the AI, pretend you are, and do it in that voice. And I think it actually...
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
It did. Okay, so it did get one thing wrong because we talked about the Vision Pro headset. And it said... I think because the training data from Anthropic was before the Vision Pro was announced, because it said developer leaks top secret M2 MacBook Pro details. It was not. It was the Vision Pro. But did this major NDA break really reveal anything juicy? Leo Laporte is skeptical. By the way, I was.
Yeah.
I don't. And the other thing, Anthony was puzzled by. He said, "I don't know how it knew that was you." We did not annotate it. It just says speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4. So it inferred, somehow inferred. I mean, obviously that information was in there somewhere.
Somebody addressed you as Leo.
Here's how it wrote the discussion about Disney and Apple. Apple acquires the Mouse House? ? The prospects of buying Disney debated, with Jason Snell laying out cases for and against, and Leo doubting Apple's interest. That's good.
Yeah.
So your entire staff
and the Mouse House phrase
not having to write show notes.
No, it's not.
No, with
the whole point of it is using these tools.
Humans are still going to have
to help us
I know.
get a baseline to start.
But it's drudgery, right? It's drudgery to have to go through it all.
Well, these shows go on and on and on. No one should have to listen to them.
Wait, hold up now. Hold up, sir.
You got to pay them.
We do need to have these downloads every week. Please and thank you.
Well, you shouldn't have to pay attention. If you are forced to listen to them, you shouldn't have to pay attention. Alex Lindsay plays with trippy ambisonic microphones for surround sound experiments, but can it enhance their show audio? Those are good.
That's good.
Okay, so the real test is, can it make any sense of this show?
Well, we'll find out, because I think we're not going to roll. We're not going to do it all at once, but I think we're going to. At first I said, I don't want to use these. These are too anodyne. They're just boring and bad. And I completely was wrong. It was just a question of getting the right prompt, I guess.
I wonder if you also gave it the rundown. And it knew where sources came from and things like that.
No.
It's working. You don't mention some of the things in the rundown.
Yeah, that's a whole other
Anthony,
issue.
did we give it the rundown? I think it came totally from the transcript.
Yeah, I'm saying you could also give it the rundown.
Oh, you could give it the rundown. Well, I don't want to confuse it. It's just a machine.
But it has to be said. It has to be said that a year ago today, nobody was thinking or talking about any of this stuff. Right? It is so early. In the life of these
Mike,
tools.
You haven't been around, but I have been extremely skeptical. I've been saying it's a parlor trick. It's BS. We're going to tire of it, just as we did of Bitcoin and VR and mixed reality and on and on and on. And it's
I couldn't say that.
You did not say that.
After I saw what was happening with Photoshop and Lightroom and Premiere Pro and everything Adobe's Sensei AI was doing, I was like, yeah, there's a place for AI in the creator space, whether it's a podcaster or whatever content creator. Just use those tools to help get things started and get things cleaned up and the repeatable stuff done faster, so you can continue to create content. I mean, doing show notes takes time,
In fact, Leo, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that one of my picks of the week is a tool that I think you are going to use every time you do a podcast from now on.
Challenge.
That's my prediction.
Wow.
And I think you're going to really get a lot of value out of it. But we'll get there.
I look forward to
picks
it.
of the week part.
Nice tease. See, a machine.
Such a daggum pro. He's such a
machine wouldn't do that.
No, wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So, a few unpopular opinions about AI, Jeff. Summarize for us.
I'm not going to remember them. Jesus.
Okay, below,
What
he
I
says,
said?
well, I got it in front of me. I will share.
Yeah, no,
He says, my unlikely unpopular opinions, he says, about large language models, he says. How they should not be used in search or news, how building effective guardrails is improbable.
Which
And
came
here's
out of
how we
last
know
week's
that Jeff
tweet.
wrote it, how we already have enough content in the world. I
Sorry,
hope they
editor.
blooped that.
Right. So I say that it shouldn't be associated with search. It shouldn't be used to write news articles. I think writing show notes is something very different. And the last thing the world needs is more content. We already have enough damn content. Right. We have to tell the machine to STFU.
Well, in this case, this is exact opposite. This is taking.
This is the opposite. Yes.
An existing corpus and synopsizing it, which is very useful.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And we talked about that. That's the Notebook LM that you were talking about, Jeff, that Google's doing.
Yeah, exactly. That augmentative help is wonderful. I think there's a huge potential there, which I say in this piece.
Yeah.
So actually, Jeff, I'm going to push back on two of the things you said. I think that there are tools that are better than search that are based on generative AI. One of which is Find.com. I think I've recommended it on the show before. PHIND.com, which is so good for search because it gives you both the search results and the generative AI result, and it tends to be pretty good. It's for developers, but it works for like us non-developer types. And the other thing about writing is that I'm coming to believe that writing PHIND.com.
Okay.
I'm coming to believe that AI can improve not only your writing, but your ability to write.
Okay,
yours,
Mike, I will
Jeff,
agree with you
but
there.
Young people. But I actually have another pick of the week that is like right down, and it's from Google too. So that's
stay tuned. Don't give it away.
Yeah, stay tuned.
We got to give
Mike,
people some
let me
results to this thing.
I think that A, augmentative things, absolutely. B, things that are my problem is if you take Bing or take Google and you have that blank search box and people expect back something authoritative, either a list of sites
the one
or
true
Wikipedia.
Answer.
And we know that generative AI and large language models on the whole ether of human speech, they don't hallucinate. They don't lie. They have no sense of fact. They have no understanding of anything. And we know that. So to associate them with an automated response to the public, I think is irresponsible. On the content side, I talked to an editor at one company I won't name. Well, we got to use this stuff because we're in a war to get more reviews out there. So we're going to use this stuff to make more meaningless reviews out there. And there's so much of that. I absolutely agree with you about, I've written a piece about this, about how I think these can extend literacy. They can help people write. But also talking with Jason on the AI show, which I've now managed to plug 3 times, which is the whole point of writing this piece, by the way.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yep. Is that I wonder that if LLMs had been released as fiction machines, they said, wow, look at this parlor trick, Leo. It can write a short story. It can write a song. It can write a poem. It can do all of that. I don't think there'd been the fuss about the fear of it, but also there wouldn't have been a business because creativity doesn't pay. So they had to associate it with tasks that it can't do well. And I think that's capitalism, boys and girls.
Mr. Jarvis, let me push back though. Just an example of you said the editor was like, we're up against it. We got to get more of these reviews out. Mm-hmm. What about said photographer that's doing team photos for the local NFL team? Heck, they are the NFL's photographer of choice. They have to go and snap these images of the players, rip the players off that background, stick them onto some other background, all within a matter of a couple hours, and then jump on the plane and go to the next town and do it all over again. And the NFL is giving them a deadline of right now.
That's augmentative. Okay. That's fine. You're using it. So, you still took the real picture of the person, right? Mm-hmm. You're using it to help you do the task like show notes. I'm all for that.
Okay. All right. Cool.
All for that. I think to make it out of whole cloth. I mean, illustrations, I'll push back on you now. Mm-hmm. Who needs a photographer when everything on the internet, every blog post, everything now has to have an illustration, which was never true in newspapers, right?
Right.
Very few of the stories.
Now you need a thumbnail.
So now everything has to have something. Mm-hmm. So screw it. Use the machine to make illustrations. Mm-hmm. Then who needs a photographer to go out and shoot stuff? A lot cheaper.
Check this out.
It's true.
So I do massive research on AI technology, and something like, it feels like 20-30% of the articles are churned out by AI by this site called Fagan Wasani. Have you heard about this?
No, sir.
So Fagan Wasani Technologies, FAGENWASANNI.com. All of their art is created with generative AI, and all of their articles. And they don't as far as I know, they don't say that it is. They don't admit that. I've contacted them. They're ghosting me. They don't get back to me. I think they're
because you're trying to talk to a machine and it would appear.
Oh, exactly. But they churn out huge numbers of articles, and they're terrible articles.
They're awful, right? And we thought that the people who copied about.com and made content farmers were bad. Now it's just gonna overload the world with popcorn peanuts, and so it's going to fully commodify content, which again goes to the point of why shows like Twits are more important, because you know that it comes from fallible human beings. But
it makes us appreciate well-written.
That's right.
It makes me appreciate well-written articles more than I used to.
Although you are going
to need to concentrate on quality.
You are going to flood the zone with non-quality mediocrity, right?
Yes.
So that might have a bad effect. Although that's kind of what the internet is.
Well, that's kind of Google can't tell the difference. So I have a lot of Google alerts and things like that, and it's just flooding me with this whatever it is, Fagan Wasani stuff, and Google just sends it to me like it's
real,
like it's legit.
To the Atlantic.
I would love to hear from Matt Cutts on this. I would love to hear how you do, because he stayed ahead of all the spam monsters all those years.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah, how would you?
Has he retired?
No, he's still there. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
Or no, actually, no. I was thinking of no. I don't know what he's.
You think Danny Sullivan?
I was thinking of Danny Sullivan. I think Matt is
Danny too,
enjoying life. Danny's still working for Google. Yeah.
Let's go ruin his day and have him on the show.
Okay, Jason, make it so. And the AI Jason will now take over. Boy, if we could get an AI booker, now we're talking. I'd have some very happy. Does that look like me? I don't think that looks like me. Does that look like me?
Those biceps are a little bit too big to be yours.
So I took my face. Added that. I don't know why I keep saying I'm a man. I don't know why it keeps doing that.
It knows the real you, Leo. It knows your feminine side.
This is somebody put this link in.
For those of you, I put that up there from Benedict Evans. He had it up there, which is great.
It's called the Human Generator, generated.photos.
So for those of you who are listening, Leo asked it to make something and it turned him into
Wonder Woman.
Linda Carter, yes.
Yeah, Wonder Woman with my face. So that's
it is kind of his face, though. It is kind of like it's the fifth illegitimate cousin that he had. Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way. It's as Dustin Hoffman said in Tootsie. He said the only hard thing about being a woman was how ugly I was. It doesn't seem to want to make me be me. So
interesting.
Maybe it's because I keep clicking mail and it keeps.
What models is this based off of?
It's a full capacity.
When I saw it originally,
we just broke it.
It didn't make wacky things like this.
That's the twit.
It made real models kind of people you could believe.
They're very believable.
Leo made it unbelievable.
I don't know. I believe it. I'd like to meet her.
That's incest. I
don't know what it is. It's like, yeah,
you're doing yourself.
It's as Woody Allen said, "What's wrong with masturbation? It's sex with somebody I love." I'm full
Leo's
of
greatest hits.
I'm full of them today, aren't I?
Rim shot. So.
But
there was a comedian who had a tour called "I'm the One That I Want."
I'm the one that I want.
Same thing. By the way, just circling back to Matt Cutts. Matt Cutts was at the U.S. He still is at the U.S. Digital Service.
No, he retired.
He retired.
Yeah. He retired, and he's now on the beach, as far as I can tell. He handed that over about a year ago. Yeah. Well,
okay.
I mean, I don't know how much of his personal life is public, so I won't say, but there was a death in the family, and I think that he perhaps is just taking some time.
He's since found
love,
happiness.
Oh,
yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear
which
it.
makes me very happy because Matt's just the nicest.
Love Matt. We love Matt.
He's brilliant.
And he did a good job during COVID at the United States Digital Services.
Yep.
Really good job there. Let's see. We were talking about AI. This was the AI segment, in case you didn't know. What else? New York Times considers legal action against OpenAI. So a judge ruled, supported the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office that AI could not copyright its creations.
So that was a limited case in which whoever brought it made it specific that no human was involved. It was strictly from the machine, I think, to test the idea.
And the Patent and
machine
Trademark
alone,
Office and the judge upheld that a machine's not a human. So absent human involvement, no, you can't copyright it. Only a human can apply for a copyright. I guess that's...
Well, but this is problematic. This is obviously so problematic. I mean, obviously human is involved. I mean, it's like... Yeah. And so the...
Well, you could copyright the prompt. Probably could copyright the prompt.
Well, I mean, you can only, supposedly and historically, you can only copyright the expression, not the information, right? So this is problematic with the New York Times story you mentioned, and also with this idea that like something has been generated without human involvement. If somebody just refers to an AI tool while they're writing, if they have it generate some content and then they don't use that, did they use the AI? Yes, they did. They used it as a tool, and so it's very, very complicated. And what the New York Times is suing over is the extraction of New York Times content to train their models, and they're saying, well, that you're stealing. But if the output doesn't expressly phrase things the way, if it doesn't actually plagiarize
that's fair use.
The words,
that's transformative.
I think
New York Times, then how is that copyright?
That's another of my unpopular opinions.
No, I don't think it's unpopular. I think legal experts widely agree this is transformative use.
Well, the question is whether or not the was it acquired legally? Did they subscribe to the New York Times? Did they pay past the paywall? Right. But in that case, it's not so much theft. It's theft of on the paywall side, not on the AI side.
Well, there's a related scandal where they're harvesting books, and of course, Sarah Silverman and other people are suing because it's harvesting books, and it turns out that they're not even buying the books.
They're pirating.
They're training their models on.
Well, there's a big model out there.
Books.
Right. Book 3.
Yeah, book 3. We actually talked a little bit about this. We had a very good twit on Sunday with Cory Doctorow and Rebecca Giblin. She's a professor.
Did you get in 3 words?
I didn't need to. I was
that was the whole idea.
A happy disciple sitting at their feet. Rebecca's a professor of law at the University of Melbourne, and of course, Cory not only is brilliant, but he's also an author himself, science fiction and nonfiction. And we talked about this. I think I can't remember. I think they basically agreed with what we've just said.
Because Corey's going to knock down copyright whenever
Corey puts
presents.
all of his books online for free and legally downloadable. So presumably all of his content has been ingested by Books 3. And I don't think he didn't seem to mind that. He was more concerned. What was he concerned about? I've forgotten now. Anyway,
you don't have the show notes.
If I'd only
from
listened
the
to
AI.
the show, I would know. See, this is a problem. They're so damn long. I mean,
he's very much into corporate exploitation of,
I think that's
employees and authors and stuff like that. So
I think that's his bigger fear. Yeah.
He wants to make sure that everybody who did creative work is compensated for their work and that it's not just taken or stolen by these companies.
He's reading the ChatGPT summary of Choke Point Capitalism, Corey, and Rebecca's book. And that's exactly right. I think that was his final conclusion, is that's not the issue. The issue is the gatekeeper themselves and how they extract value from creative work. He doesn't like, so yes, exactly right. He says copyright doesn't solve this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Copyright solves nothing.
Mr. Jarvis has said that.
Copyright has been appropriated by these big companies as a way of protecting their rights, the music industry's rights, the film industry's rights, not creators' rights. It's their choke point. And so, yes, he's not a fan. So anyway, we'll see if a federal judge finds that the OpenAI folks, see, these are weasel words, illegally copied the Times articles to train the model. What does that mean? How would it be illegal? The court could order the company to destroy ChatGPT's data set, forcing them to recreate it using only work that's authorized to use. And this was what Corey would say is, well, this is just the owners of the choke points fighting over who gets to use the output of creatives.
Well, and if at some point we say the machine may not read, my fear is it sets a precedent that the humans may not read, that we will be told
we do the same
what we're
thing.
not allowed to know.
Yeah.
If somebody cuts out a newspaper article and gives it to us, we didn't pay for it, but my friend gave it to us in first sale doctrine. Oh, no. Well, you printed it out, you distributed it.
Everything we talk about in this show comes from somebody else's article. I try to give them credit.
And can be scraped.
Bobby Allen wrote this piece for NPR. So I give him credit. But yeah, if we were not allowed to reuse this content as fodder for the show, well, we probably wouldn't have. What would we?
So we humans
do?
Defend the rights of the machine.
I'd have to say, Jeff, did you read that article on NPR about the New York Times? You could say yes. I read it.
That was a yes or no question, sir.
I can't say. Could you summarize? I could say, what do you think? And you could say, I think it's a bad idea. And I could say, I think it's a good idea. Next.
What idea?
What idea? We can't say the idea.
I can't say.
We can't say the idea. We can only. It's not a good.
Well, I was heavily persuaded by Jerome Lanier's view in the New Yorker that, and we talked about this on the show, I think last time I was on, which is that generative AI and its harvesting. This is a way to automate the collaboration of many humans. And as such, it's kind of like, it's sort of the equivalent of the conventional wisdom, but at scale and very high detail. So, and it's also true that everybody gets a different result, right? So, I don't know. What I worry about is if thoughtful, intelligent organizations are more likely than dumb, unintelligent organizations to use whatever means they have to prevent their content from being hoovered up into the generative AI training models, right? So that just means, to the extent that that's true, the content is junk, right? If the really high quality content, if the Atlantic and other high quality publications are not allowing their information to be brought in, but this AI generated garbage or whatever is brought in, then we're just going to have like bad information in those generative AI models.
Right, but I think what happens is
how would the Atlantic block their stuff from?
Well, OpenAI just recently came out with a system that is blocked like anything else.
They have a robot text.
Okay,
and the New York Times is now using that, and so the organizations that care will use that sort of thing, and the ones that don't care, won't use those things.
Yeah.
And so it just biases all the information we have toward the less quality information.
Right.
Well, remember that in order to make sure a human is using a website, sites put up captchas to see if you're a robot or a human. It turns out AI bots are so good that they're 15% better at identifying captchas than humans.
Just to rephrase that, the non-humans are better at proving that they're human
than humans.
Than the humans are.
Well said, Mike. Well said. We are not human. We are subhuman.
And this was predicted by Google.
A study conducted by a group of researchers from the University of California, Irvine, ETH Zurich, and the Lawrence Livermore National Lab, one from Microsoft, showed that AI bots are now better than humans at decoding captchas. They even create an impression of humans being more robots than the bots. So the researchers recruited 1,400 participants to test websites that use those evil captchas. But that's about 120 of the world's 200 most popular websites. The bot accuracy ranges from 85 to 100%, with the majority above 96%. These captchas are so bad. You know this. We know this. That humans only do about 50 to 85% accuracy. We fail at these all the time. But
because the traffic light is hidden.
You got this half right, so you must be human.
And furthermore, the bot's solving times significantly lower, of course. They're faster. Yeah. Humans take an average of 18 seconds to solve these things. Huh? What? I'm supposed to click what? Where?
And really you spend 15 seconds cursing about having to do it.
I hate these. Well,
just let them in. Just let them in. They're still sitting here.
Send this study to everybody who uses captchas because it ain't working.
Who owns Captcha?
Google.
Well,
and
why don't they fold that?
Captcha was owned by somebody else. Then there was a team at Carnegie Mellon. I think Captcha was Carnegie Mellon. And originally they did it they also did Duolingo. Their whole idea was to use human effort on stuff like this to build these smart engines, Duolingo, or I don't know what they're doing with Captcha. Google replaced Captcha with reCAPTCHA. But in fact, even predicted when they did this that it wouldn't be long before machines would be better at it. That was 2019. Yes. It only took 4 years.
The other thing, I have two other beefs with reCAPTCHA, one of which is that they essentially punish people who use VPNs. Everybody should be using a VPN. Everybody should encourage that. Google, in fact, builds a VPN technology into their phones. They claim to say that they want everybody to use a VPN, but
how does it punish you?
They punish you with
you use your VPN and start to do a search, and your phone just crawls. But you switch to Google's. Your search will just zip on through.
I use ExpressVPN, which is great and fast, really fast. But Google punishes me and says, "Okay, you have to do this captcha because there's something weird about your activity." So I do the crosswalks, and then it gives me the lights, and then it gives me the buses, and then it gives me I have to do sometimes I have to do 4 or 5 captchas. So annoying. And the other thing is I disagree with them about they'll say, "Oh, pick all the motorcycles," and then they have these little Vespa scooters. That's not a motorcycle.
But Mike's there arguing
a motorcycle somewhere.
They don't know what the word motorcycle means. That's not my problem.
It's
anyway,
a moped.
It's frustrating. It's time for
I want video of Mike doing captchas.
Oh, the swearing, the swearing,
riveting.
Yeah. Google actually acquired reCAPTCHA.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yes.
They did not invent it. They acquired it in 2009.
And they use it to train their visual AI. It's like Street View.
Yeah, right? It's not a surprise AI is good at it. It's been trained on captchas.
So this is an example. The most offensive thing is that this is an example of them just they're getting us to do labor for them for free.
Right.
And
so annoying.
I don't know why we put up with it.
I agree. It's never really been a good. I think that's the main purpose because it's never really been a good way to prove that you're human.
No,
not at all.
Okay, so now what else can we be cranky about? How about creating real estate flythroughs with AI?
So I just put this up there just because I thought it uses AI to smooth it out. That's not a big deal. Well, I would love to see a fly through for the studio and offices.
Oh,
it looks beautiful. I mean, look at this. It looks so good.
So they generated it with your phone.
You can see the guy in the mirror there. So yeah, you're using a phone, but it's just the app. It smooths it out.
And it takes it. All right. That's on the App Store. I'll make simple one. I'll do it for you, just for you.
I already have one out there.
Luma AI.
Like on the turns.
Let me see. I'll pull up because I got one on YouTube that I shot a year or so ago.
And don't you get the theme of the show? We're replacing you.
Look here, dude. Not happening.
You're not going to do show notes. You're not going to take photos anymore. We're going to have an illustrator.
I think, and I want to say I did it 360. Yeah, I did do a 360 one 3 years ago.
Oh,
when 360 was hot.
So
and what camera did you use for that?
Was it the Insta or the Vooz?
Oh, you used one of the 360 cams. Yeah.
So I'm gonna put it in our Discord and IRC. So here it is in Discord, and then here it is in IRC, and it looked okay.
I like the smoothing. I guess that's the main thing this Luma does. Is kind of makes it feel like you're swooping, and
that's key.
I'm getting it right now.
And what Insta360 is doing with their software, pretty much is the same thing that this is touting.
And
if you have a good editor like Mr. Nielsen, because he understands
the application is right on, because they're trying to replace in-house visits for real estate. This is marketing, right?
Yeah.
And so they want it to not just give people a technical understanding of what the house looks like inside, but make them feel like they're walking around. And it's the feeling part of it that this is really helping with. And I think it's just very powerful technology. And real estate people, when it comes to like the marketing of homes, they jump on this stuff. They were really early on drone video and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they're going to be
Henry used to do that
technology.
Before he got into Salt Hank cooking food, he was he was a drone pilot for real estate.
I remember that.
He would do all those videos.
Right.
Yeah. This looks like you've got a drone, one of those.
It looks like an MPV.
That's what I was trying to remember.
I wonder what the raw material going into it looked like. But
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was just fun.
I'll do it.
It was also better to cover.
Yeah, I like it.
It ain't free.
Sorry.
Well, it's all right. I'm made of money. You know that.
How much is that?
Well, that's all the negative reviews are. Oh boy, I didn't realize how much this is going to cost.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
We'll see.
Not that good.
Well, if you're selling it to, you're selling a home, spending $50 on a fly-through is worth it.
$50.
Well, I don't know. Let me see. You do not have any fly-throughs yet. Already have an Illumina account? Yes, I do. What's my username? I don't know. Yeah, okay. All right, well, I won't do this now, but you know what? Before the next show, I'll do you want a studio tour? I will do, create your first fly-through. Okay.
Just make sure you don't accidentally sell the studio.
I would like to sell it.
He'd be fine to sell
I would be happy to sell it.
Wait a minute.
No need for gimbals. AI-generated camera moves. Capture indoor spaces. Access, yes. Allow you to record videos. Yes, okay. Use to tag with location metadata. Allow while using app. Yes. Yeah, this is just an Apple app. Make sure you have good lighting. Do we have good lighting?
Some days.
It says plan your route in advance. Open all doors. Clear moving objects. Oh, Lily, get out of the way.
Where's the dog?
Avoid fast motion. Find good vantage points. Focus. By the time I do all this, turn your phone sideways. Okay.
You might as well have hired Ant.
Okay.
Yeah, they got you.
Landscape. Okay. Ready?
Ooh.
Go ahead, run around.
Ooh, okay, I'm going to run around. I'll be back.
All right.
And take over the show. Open all doors.
Opening.
Remove all roadblocks.
Tell Lily to get out of the way.
Everybody finish up in the bathroom. Leo's coming.
If you have instant,
I want to see the coffee machine.
You're going to be able to get these results already, but I get the fact that they're saying, hey, just use your phone instead of using a 360 camera.
Yep.
That is a good
Makes
value.
a lot of sense.
But he never did say how much this thing costs. I don't have
he's going to find out when he gets back. He's going to curse me.
I mean if it's okay to pay for apps, people, but if it's $40 for something like this, I don't know if that's...
I mean, if you're a real estate professional, for sure, it's worth it. But I think they should also, hopefully they do, allow you to upload video, because that way you can stitch together drone and phone video into one seamless video.
That would be
You can do the whole outside and fly around and
and he's still singing, y'all. Here he comes back.
Here he comes.
Coming back. He's not whistling into the mic. He's
I wonder what they're going to do with people, like how they're going to munge people into like these strange-looking aliens.
Did you say anything while I was gone?
No, sir. I didn't say a word.
No, it was dead silence the whole minute.
This was radio.
Without you, we're mute.
Worst podcast time ever.
All right. Okay. Now, generate fly-through. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we're still concerned about how much it's going to cost.
Well, so far nothing. just a little humiliation, and
when you want to download it,
is $40 too much? You think, Mr. Elgin doesn't think that it's too much for
if
real
it's
estate?
Real estate, no, I think they could. I mean, how much are they going to make on that sale?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the problem.
If they're smart, they won't charge you unless you're going to download the video. They let you see it. Be like, oh, I love that. That'd be good marketing.
Oh, I'm sorry. It says your fly-through is being processed with our generative neural networks. It will take about 45 minutes.
Son of a geez.
Wow. And when generation is complete, you'll be able to download and share. I only shot for a minute.
Wow. Were you shooting in 8K? Good grief.
I got an idea. Let me do a 45-minute commercial, and when we come back,
sponsors.
We'll have the video.
Sponsors.
It won't be 45 minutes, I promise. People pushing the
club members
fast forward button right now. No, don't fast forward, because you know what? I want to talk to you about your community. There's one thing we really understand in podcasting is it's all about the community. I used to, when I was in radio, I'd call it your audience or your listeners. No, it's not. It's a community. And it's very important, whatever your business, to build a community of dedicated fans around your business, to provide them with support, to allow them to interact with you. And for that, we use the best forum software ever, Discourse. Our show today brought to you by Discourse. Discourse is the online home for your community. It is already for ours. It has been for years at twit.community. Discourse has been around for 10 years. I first discovered it when he had John O'Bacon, who wrote the book on community, on the triangulation episode. He said, you don't have a forum? I said, no. He said, get Discourse. Discourse has made it their mission to make the internet a better place for online communities by harnessing the power of discussion, of real-time chat, even AI. Discourse makes it easy to have meaningful conversations and collaborate with your community anytime, anywhere. And I know because you're in the Twit community all the time. I go in there every day. It's fantastic. If you would like to have a community around what you do, your business, visit Discourse, discourse.org/twit. You can get 1 month free right now on all self-serve plans. It's trusted by some of the largest companies in the world. In fact, more and more, as now that I know Discourse, when I go around and I sign up for stuff, I say, oh, they're using Discourse too. Everybody uses it now because it's solid. It's secure. It is very easy to administer. Oh, look, there we are right there. That's neat. There's our Twit Discourse. Discourse is an open source solution. I love that. It powers more than 20,000 online communities, and I use the Discourse hosting because they do such a good job of keeping it up to date, secure. I always have the latest features without any effort on my part. If you're just starting out or you want to take your community to the next level, there is a plan for you. The basic plan is for a private, invite-only community, your bowling club, your PTA group. There's a standard
fantasy football.
It's great for that.
Yes.
There's a standard plan if you want a public presence and unlimited membership. And then I think we have the business plan. This is for active customer support communities. It's not expensive, though, I have to say. Jonathan Balava, who is a developer advocacy lead at Twitch, says, this is high praise, and I agree with it. Quote, Discourse is the most amazing thing we've ever used. We've never experienced software so reliable, ever. One of the biggest advantages to creating your own community, oh, there's John O'Bacon right there, with Discourse is that you own your own data. You will always have access to all your conversation history, and Discourse will never sell your data to advertisers. It's yours. You own it. Discourse gives you everything you need in one place. Make Discourse the online home for your community. And all I could say is, having run this for a couple of years, it's me and Paul have volunteered. We do it together, and that's about it. And Ant, you come by, other hosts come by. It's the easiest to use. I set it up to approve all new members because I want to make sure that they're part of the community. It's not spammers and stuff. And it's worked fantastically. It's so easy. Every morning I just go, I check it out. I don't have to do much work. One person can administer a fairly large instance. Discourse gives you everything you need in one place. Make Discourse the online home for your community. Don't confuse it with the other one, Discord. This is Discourse, like conversation. DISCOURSE. Visit discourse.org/twit. You'll get 1 month free on any self-serve plan. Discourse.org/twit. I am a huge fan.
I love it.
Of Discourse.
It's always fun to go in to twit.community on a Monday morning or a Thursday morning.
Why? Oh, Monday
morning after Sunday's Twit.
Yeah.
Or on a Thursday
after
morning
Twig.
After Twig or Windows Weekly because people are fired up about something.
Fired up. Well,
fired up.
We used to, we post on YouTube and we used to have YouTube comments and no one can manage that. No one can. There's no safe and easy way. It takes hours and hours of moderation. So I said, we're going to have the Discord. Every show will have an entry there. It does, as you can see. And people can go there and talk about the show. And we can respond. And it's so much better than having, any other kind of comment engine.
Right.
It just really works really, really
It's been
great.
really, really, really fun because people are quite passionate and educated when it comes to the topics in there. And it's really good discussions in there. Lots of
themes you can customize. I have it, personally set as a dark mode.
Of course.
Theme, but there's lots of other themes and there's so many features. This is really good. Look at this. I also get all these stats. I have the monthly business plan. Okay. That's what I have. And they even give you, this is good, advice on your current site settings. So here's I can update some of my themes, I guess, are ready for updates. Nice. I can look at my community health, the engagement, DAUs, MAUs. All of this is huge. Very valuable for building and maintaining a community. Thank you, Discourse. Let's see, pre-processing. Yeah, it's going to take 45 minutes.
Oh, by the end of the show.
That's crazy.
Maybe. It's cool. I like
so,
that.
Leo, have you applied for your Meta money?
I should get Meta money because I was a member until
Friday is the deadline.
Okay, how do I do that?
So it's up there. It's on the rundown. Let's see here. Where was it?
Mr. Jarvis, can you explain Meta money?
So there was the Cambridge Analytica.
Don't you know what Meta money is?
And led to a settlement, and you have until Friday to apply. And if you were on Meta at all between, I think, like 2006 and 2022, it was just a huge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm in there.
Nothing long.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is say, "Yeah, I was on it. And here was my username."
Oh, and shoot. I don't remember my username.
Here's how you want your
wasn't
username
Aunt
to pay
Pruitt?
me.
Okay, here we go. INRAE, Facebook Incorporated, Consumer Privacy User Profile Litigation, case number blah, blah, blah. U.S. District Court, submit claim. August 25th, 11:59 p.m. That's it. So, and then I just fill this out. Did I reside in the U.S.? Yes. Was I a Facebook user? Yes. Are you filing a claim for a current account, deleted account? It's a deleted account. And then you have to know the profile information. I think it was
I don't remember.
Username. Oh, it was probably Leo Laporte, right? Oh, I have no idea what my start date is.
That's what they got you. You fink for leaving.
And then what? And then I have to give them. Oh, I can have them Venmo me the money. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And how much money, Jeff?
I don't know. I'll find out.
It's dependent on how many people ask for it. Usually.
2 3/4 cents. Right?
Yeah, that's my experience. I once got a bag of pop chips as a son. I kid you not.
Oh, you won then.
Somewhere that the average payment's going to be like $35.
$35,
like that,
says Benito.
payment.
The average.
Oh, nice.
No,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That's a quarter
Right,
tank of gas.
I'll buy drinks next time.
Okay, good. Drinks on Jeff. Well, let us know how much you get, Jeff. I don't.
Will do.
Do I have to know my?
I mean, are they going to verify
It says
that?
approximate.
Oh, okay. Then
Make something up.
Yeah.
How could I figure that out? I could probably.
Dude, I got no idea.
Your Instagram account.
The way to figure it out.
No,
Leo,
but I haven't. I'm not even
G-
on the same Insta account I've been on.
Go into Gmail, Leo. Go into Gmail and search and go all the way to the beginning of when you started getting email from Facebook.
Oh, you are so smart.
Right? So it'll be.
You are so smart.
So I see a video
2007 or something like that.
from 2010. Leo Laporte deletes his Facebook account.
Yeah,
on
so
YouTube.
thank you. So that's when I stopped.
And the thumbnail is me screaming at you.
Why are you doing
so
that?
far, you're quite helpful, Mr. Jarvis.
And then there's another one. Leo Laporte quits Facebook, 2018.
Oh Lord!
So you were on between 2010 and 2018 at some point.
Really, 2018?
But before that, we're not so sure. I don't remember. I can't remember my IDs because I didn't tie Instagram to Facebook. I purposely split it off because I was just testing.
You're playing the show, aren't you, of me quitting Facebook?
Yeah, episode 42. 42. Episode 42, 2010. Leo deletes.
I was probably really peeved at the time. And you shouted at me, like, don't do it?
Well, the thumbnail has me in that,
48, episode 48, you said?
42.
42. All right.
It's a 5-minute. Let me put it in the chat.
I can.
Somebody's got it in our Discourse.
Well, because it's the snippet of it.
Oh, but it was audio only, wasn't it?
No, Mr. Howell's got the video in Discord there.
Oh, Mr. Howell's on top of it. Here he is. Leo Laporte deletes his Facebook account.
That's such a dorky theme.
I hate. Who made this up?
I love it.
Who came up with that theme?
I love that song.
Permanently delete a Facebook account that talks about some important steps like make sure you remove your Facebook Connect logins. If you've been using that exclusively on sites like dig.com, you want to create an account.
A little low resolution there.
That account. Dig.com. You want to see the studio? So I
Oh my God, it was a studio.
Doc Searles.
There's Doc and Gina.
Oh, we have such baby faces.
Jeff. Accidentally log in because it'll say, oh. And then Jeff, you were in your office.
Be really interested to see if he can talk. He's the new product manager and see what they're thinking at Google, because this is their opportunity now. They've got an opening. They've been nowhere on social, nowhere on identity.
Did Google Plus?
And the question is, what can you do right?
This is
we're
your
gonna make
fault.
Mike sad now.
It's your fault.
Mike's gonna get all sad.
There would be no Google Plus without Jeff Jarvis urging them.
Was by saying, "Don't worry, we're just." Well, that's Google's opportunity is to have you.
Oh, I don't think I actually deleted it. I just showed you. There are. Oh, wait a minute! I did. There you go.
It's like we have to start sitting Shiva for you.
So that's it. It's gone. I think that's the right thing to do, and I think you're right. What I will do is create a Leo Laporte account. So there you go.
It's like we have to start sitting Shiva.
I think that your account now, because remember, has been deactivated. Oh yeah, and will be permanently deleted within 14 days. If you log in, your account will be reactivated. I must have logged in and reactivated. So there you go.
It's like we have to start sitting Shiva for you.
So that's it. I no longer. That's the right thing to do, and I think you're right. What I will do is create a Leo Laporte account. So I guess I had another account. Huh. So Facebook.
So you could file for 2.
Oh, maybe I get 2 pop chips. The Facebook user privacy settlement.com. Facebook user privacy
So
settlement.
those of you who are listening to the show next week,
your
sorry,
money.
you're a little late.
Too late. That's why you got to
Midnight PT this Friday.
download immediately. Meanwhile, Meta has this week supposedly Threads is going to get a web-based interface. That's really the big thing holding me back, right?
Yeah.
Me too.
I have the Android app running on my Chromebook because I could do that because, hey, Chrome. It's a little flaky, but it generally works. But the engagement on Threads is just nowhere. Blue Sky is so much more for me.
That's the key for me. That's the key for me.
What do you use? What do you use, Mike?
Well, to get at Threads, I use my iPad.
No. What do you use? What do you use them all? What are you still using? X?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. I use Substack, Notes, Blue Sky, Mastodon, T2, LinkedIn, Tumblr.
Wow.
How do you? But see,
he is a creator.
He's a broadcaster. Spend an hour each day posting to each of them. I mean, how do you?
What I do is my routine is that while I'm waiting for the coffee to kick in the morning, I go through all of them and just check, see if anybody replied or commented on something or whatever engagement. And by the time I'm done with my coffee. I close them all, and I try to ignore it all day. And then during the day, I'll pretty much only post on Substack Notes, which I'm the only person in the world who uses Substack Notes, so it's just me talking to myself mostly.
Oh, it looks like a X clone, right?
Yeah, but Substack Notes is the prettiest social network.
It's Mastodon, isn't it? Isn't it Mastodon?
No,
it's not.
No. Substack Notes, no. It's that's one of the problems with it is proprietary.
Medium has a Mastodon. It's Medium.
Medium does, okay. yeah. And I think Tumblr is also on the Fediverse, but Substack Notes, I use it because that's where my newsletter is on Substack, and
Makes sense.
And a lot of smart people. And just like last week, I think it was, they added the ability to follow people instead of having to subscribe to their newsletter, which is, I have the default set for my newsletters that I subscribe to on Substack to come to my email. So every time there's somebody I just wanted to follow on Notes, I would have to subscribe to them and get their email into my inbox just so I can interact with them. But now they have follows. So it's a regular social network. Nobody cares. It's like not even part of the conversation about social networks, but I like it. It's pretty.
My heart is still with Mastodon, but if you're really looking for a Twitter replacement, I think Threads or Blue Sky, those are the two.
Well, like Jeff said, I mean, from the engagement front, like Jeff said, Blue Sky is more consistent. You more consistently get engagement on Blue Sky. In that sense, it's more Twitter-like. On I use Mastodon. I use the basic Mastodon server instance, and it's like it's either the engagement is kind of low or it's massive. Like sometimes if something like takes off on the Fediverse, it's just gigantic. I get hundreds of reshares and comments and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But it's far less consistent than Blue Sky. They're both great for engagement, and both of them are better than Twitter these days for engagement.
Yeah,
for sure.
So here is Mark Zuckerberg's post on Threads. Actual footage of me building threads for the web rolling out over the next few days. He looks a lot younger than I expected to be, and I didn't know he sat like that with his knees up.
He has a phone with that's
a HP 35 calculator. It's hysterical.
What's the drink, you think?
I don't know. I think he made it into a bong because there's a lighter right there. So I don't know.
What kind of laptop is that? I wonder. I can't remember.
Oh, look at that weird wrist rest. Yeah, this is obviously Mark in the early days of Facebook, and he's just taken Threads and put it on top.
It's in his college dorm room.
Yeah. It's pretty, actually, it's a great, it looks like a Harvard desk. God, they had crap.
Making hot or not or whatever that thing was.
Yeah, right. So I don't know how you get to Threads web.
If I go to threads.net, it just says download the app. I can't find a link for
threads.net/your user handle will take you to your profile, but at least right now for me, there's still no option to create a post here in the web.
Okay, I don't think it exists. The web doesn't.
That's existed for a while, Ant. Yeah,
but they're rolling it out. So I was like, well, I'll at least look here and see if they put a button there.
So I can't yet. But he said in the next few days. Of course, he also said that was him. So
it was him.
I don't know. It was him a long time ago. Blue Sky is like exactly like Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there is the promise. Both have promised to be part of the Fediverse. Neither has lived up to that promise.
Not yet.
We'll see.
We're watching.
At least they got a web interface for Threads. Blue Sky has never promoted the web interface, but you told me about it. Staging.bsky.app. Let's use it in the web.
I got an invite. I'm going to put it in the IRC. Somebody in our IRC mentioned.
Yeah, Doran wanted to invite.
I'll put that invite in here.
DM him. Don't put it in public or it'll be
because then everybody's going to use it at the same time.
Oh, I don't know how to let's see. Message. Was it Doran? Yeah, it was Doran. Okay, yeah. Doran. We'll see if this works.
I would love for one of these to be the incumbent, but this shows you why it needs to be centralized. Because unless it's centralized, you don't get critical mass.
Whoops,
and if you don't get critical mass, it's not.
Well, I don't think we know that yet, Leo. I don't think we know that yet.
I hope you're right, because as I said, I support the Federation.
Yeah.
But I don't mind that Mastodon is a quiet little backwater. that's fine with me. And we run our own, twit.social.
I have very good engagement on Mastodon.
So it's interesting. What do you think you said, Mike, that it's sometimes high and sometimes not. Is it based on the content or?
Yeah, based on the content. I mean, it's hard to predict what will go viral, just like anything else. But what I mean is that sometimes I post stuff and it's crickets, which is fine. And then sometimes I post stuff and it just launches into the stratosphere. And that doesn't really happen to me on Blue Sky. I get I get 1 or 2, 3, 4 or 5 comments on every post. I get a somewhat predictable number of likes. I'll get minor bumps, but when things go viral on Mastodon, they really go viral.
Yeah, Mike, I wonder if you find this. So when I read the papers in the morning, papers air quotes in the morning, and I find links I want to share, I'll hit the Twitter button because it's convenient on the Washington Post, right? Copy and paste that, put it in a Blue Sky, put it into Mastodon. Yep. Once in a while, put it into Threads, but Threads doesn't always want me to copy, whatever.
Right.
Paste. What I find is that the same exact item, letter for letter, can take off on Blue Sky but not Mastodon, and then on Mastodon but not Blue Sky, or then on both.
That's right.
No rhyme to reason.
Totally unpredictable.
Yeah, I see the same thing with mine. For me, the engagement ranking is number 1, Twitter, number 2, Instagram, number 3 would be twit.social. Twit.social. And
is that the only way to rate one of these things, though, is how much response you get to your posts?
No, it's not. It's just one way. No,
It depends on who you ask, because if you're a brand, you want to see some response.
But see, that's one of the things I like about Mastodon. It's kind of not a brand thing. And so but see, this is the problem. A lot of the reason I would go to Twitter is as a read-only site to see what's going on, what people are talking about, to laugh at people and what they're saying about the Golden Globes or the Super Bowl. All of that was fun, and that was and that required a massive people. And Mastodon doesn't do that. Blue Sky and Threads could maybe. I don't know. I don't want to support Threads because it's meta. Blue Sky, at least, it's still Jack Dorsey. I'm not a fan, but at least it's kind of with a more open ish idea. Honestly,
I think to me, I think it's the quality of the engagement, not the quantity. And you get high quality engagement on Mastodon pretty regularly. On Blue Sky, like I've stepped on some landmines in Blue Sky where just the jackals just came after me. It's kind of
political talk or what?
That happens with me on Twitter if it's anything that's remotely political, even though I didn't intend on it to be, but it strikes a nerve. And that's fine.
What about the other ones? What about T2? Is that still in the...
I have the account, haven't launched it. I just got the account.
It's the engagement there, in my experience, is not I'm not super. I don't have a ton of followers there.
This was started by former Twitter employees. So it's very Twitter-like.
Yes. There's not a lot of activity there. It's just kind of, To
your point, Leo, I don't think it's at all about quality. It's just, do you find yourself in an interesting conversation? Did someone say something interesting in return? That's how I would define engagement.
Most of my conversations would come on Twitter. Granted, I try not to pay social any attention just for my own mental health. So I go in there periodically to at least look for someone that replied, because otherwise it's just auto post stuff coming out from my computer. I generally stick stuff in this scheduler and walk away, because it's just better peace of mind instead of trying to figure out, I need to post right now. I need to post right now. No. Baloney. But
for those who are looking for the engagement on their own posts, I find that it's like less than half of what it used to be from a year ago. It's just a lot of people have wandered away. A lot of journalists have been disillusioned and wandered away. So many people.
That's what I found.
Go ahead, Ed.
For me, the Instagram engagement, because I ranked that number 3, it's funny to me because most of my posts on there I'm actually trying to post, and I'm only posting to stories. I'm not even putting, in the actual grid thing. I'm putting it to stories for people that actively follow me. So I'm like, why does that matter more? Because most of the time it's not even photographic. It's just a caption of something or something random that I saw in the house with the dogs. And, but that stuff gets a decent amount of engagement, more so than my photography does there on that platform.
It really does. And people like want to know about you and your life on Instagram. So interesting thing. I was off Instagram for years. Mm-hmm. And then when Threads came out, I wanted to try it, and you have to have an Instagram account. Yeah. So I launched a new Instagram account like last month or something like that. Uh-huh. And so I have just a couple 300 followers or whatever it is. And I'm just posting, I'm just using it for photography. Just like, here's a picture I like. And I'm not trying to like put any other kind of content, and the engagement is pretty good. And I'm actually kind of enjoying it. And Threads is like that as well. All that I don't put the pictures on Threads, but you're right. It's like the engagement on Instagram is pretty good.
So, Mike, to your question about people leaving, this is from my numbers of the week. Nature magazine reached out to 170,000 scientists who were or still are on as Leo would like us to say, X.
Well, that's what it is.
9,200 responded, which is just a lot of respondents. So it's among the respondents, right? More than half reported they've reduced the time they spend on the platform. Just under 7% have stopped using it altogether. 46% have joined other social media platforms such as Mastodon, Blue Sky, Threads, and TikTok. So there are bits of flight going on away from X.
I think it mirrors what's happening with journalists as well. I think it's not satisfying because you want everybody to leave or nobody to leave. If nobody left and they could,
it's like a job,
each other.
Right? But his job sucks. I want everybody to go.
But like lots of people left, so it's like worse, but it's still not. And everybody went to different platforms, so it's like it's been a dispersal of scientists.
That's kind of the problem. Is in COVID, we knew where to go. You all go to Twitter. Or in my case, Reddit. Reddit still, even despite the problems they've been having, still is a place people use. And that was where I was getting the best up-to-date COVID information. In fact, Jeff, you had that great Twitter list of COVID experts that you could follow.
I wonder how many of them are still on.
Yeah.
I still go to it, but I don't know.
There is no place like that now. There really isn't. I guess Reddit has survived its thing. And then now here I am on X, and look, there's a great picture of Micah and Lisa and Max and Ryan, our sales team, and Micah's helping them out at the podcast Move It in Denver. So see, there's still some good people on X. Not me. Although I should come back and say, hey, now that I'm not competing with the name, I like it. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't have to worry about Chief Twit anymore, though, right?
No, you should post that just to see what happens, because
people would fall over, right? If anyone is still there. Yeah. Hey, speaking of all this, I want to tell you, September 10th, Taylor Lawrence is going to be on Twit. Woo-hoo. She, of course, I finally got her. It's hard to get her, but she has a book. Yeah, she's promoting her book, which is fine. In fact, I'm going to try to read it before she comes. What's it called? Always Online, something like that. I can't remember the name, but I will find out before she's on. I promise you. In fact, I will get a copy of it.
Extremely online.
Extremely.
The untold story of fame, influence, and power on the internet. It'll be great.
She is a lightning rod for this stuff, and yet I don't think there's any reporter who covers it as well as she does. She's as a reporter. Bravely. I mean, there's people like Dana Boyd who do a better analysis of what's going on, but as a reporter, she's very good and kind of an internet native, which. I think we got to listen to the internet natives on this. Well, let's take a little break. I didn't do the change log. Maybe I'll do the change log, then we'll take a little break. How about that? I don't want to keep you
the boss.
The Google change log.
The Google change log. Pretty behind it. YouTube is testing a much smaller skip ads button. Well,
find it if you can.
Yeah, find it if you can. This is from Search Engine Land. We're testing an update, says Google, to the design of the skip ads button across all platforms. Our goal is to provide a more consistent user experience in line with the updated look and feel on YouTube, which in last. What we really did is we just don't want you to skip any ads, so we're going to put this little tiny button on there.
It is irritating how you can get rid of a takeover ad, but they hide. It's like the worst CAPTCHA. They hide where you find it's a box, it's a leave, it's a this, it's a hit.
They have always said, no, this is good because then advertisers don't pay money for somebody who's not interested in their product. We get feedback about which ads are working, which ones are not. We like the skip ads button, and advertisers like the skip ads button. Maybe that wasn't true. No, maybe they weren't true. Hey, good news, podcast lovers. YouTube Music is going to support using RSS to subscribe to podcasts. They've really got a lot of podcasts in YouTube Music. It's just a whole tab dedicated to it and stuff, which I'm not crazy about. I don't use YouTube Music. I use it for music, right? But
you use Spotify for music too. But
I don't use Spotify for podcasts. I should say
you don't.
Neither do I.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Some people do.
Yeah. This was actually at Podcast Movement this week in Denver. YouTube's Podcast Lead revealed that YouTube Music is expanding RSS support. They're also testing the ability for creators to upload podcast episodes via an RSS feed, with YouTube creating a video version for audiences outside of YouTube Music. We don't have any audio only shows, or do we?
No,
we used to.
We used to, but
and when we do it, do we just put it up on YouTube with the title card?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people do that.
Yep.
Feature will launch fully end of year. Also confirms podcast will go live in YouTube Music in more countries through the end of 2023. Globally available by the end of the year. Right now it's US, Canada, and Latin America.
I like this.
It's good news.
Move. Not because it's not about podcasts, it's about RSS. And so you have a major embrace of RSS. I mean, I think Google damaged RSS when they killed Google Reader. And I think to a large extent, when companies like Google embrace RSS in a big way like this, it's sort of like it makes the world safe for RSS. And
as Dave Weiner would say, if it ain't on RSS, it ain't a podcast.
Thank you, Dave.
On Spotify,
I agree.
that's not a podcast.
It's not a podcast.
But RSS also is important for non-podcasts, right? For content generally. We're always talking about social networks and how they're failing us and all stuff. But as a source of news, you don't want to get your news from social. That's a terrible place to get your news. RSS feeds are way better because you can curate them carefully. You can control it, and it's not necessarily algorithmically controlled. Mm-hmm. And so I just love anything that boosts RSS and makes it more of a force on the internet.
Mr. Elgin, I hate saying it like this, but do normal people get what an RSS feed is in your experience?
Probably not.
That's the thing, but normal people know what
Reader
Facebook is and what Twitter is, and say, oh, so-and-so posted a news story on Facebook, so that's where I'm going to get my news. Well, some folks, not everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not quite as purist as Dave Weiner is. Of course, he created the RSS standard, so he has a strong...
Yeah, wonder why he would be a purist.
But I honestly, in fact, it's one of the reasons I don't even like the word podcast that much. Mm-hmm. It's just content it's audio or video content on the internet. Right. And if you want to watch it on YouTube as a video, that's fine. And we put it wherever we can.
Right.
I love RSS. I'm with you, Mike. I think RSS is really important, and I use an RSS reader and so forth. Yep. So anything that supports RSS is good. Mm-hmm. But I think it's unfortunate that we have this notion of, well, what's a YouTube video then? Is that a podcast? It's silly. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. It's content on the internet, and you get it however you get it, and whatever's convenient for our audience. That's what I'm going to support. I'm not going to.
The content is what matters, and flexible delivery is also matters.
Yes, make it easy.
Yes, yeah,
exactly.
And your choice. I think that's Dave's point, is that when Spotify, and yours too, when Spotify tries to take it all over, so you have to use Spotify,
then it's no
podcasting.
Mm-hmm. Then
that's terrible.
That's bad.
And RSS has real advantages because no one owns it. It doesn't give information about you back to the podcast. Right. You're private when you use it. There's a lot of real advantages to it, I think.
Real advantages. And since we're griping about the use of the word podcast, what really bothers me is when podcasts shorten that to pod. Oh, last week on the pod. It really bothers me because podcast is like the iPod and the Medium, right? The Medium on the podcast on an iPod. That's the origins of podcast, right? The pod part is the device, and the cast part is the medium. If anything, they should shorten it to cast.
Well, Mike,
spoken like an old man, Mr. Elgin.
Yep, thank you.
Can I tell you? All right, I'm going to tell you a little story.
It's a netcast. It's a netcast.
Well, first of all, I agree with you 100%, Mike. The other day, Lisa and I are talking. Actually, we're in bed. We're conversing at night, and she calls them pods.
I've never done that.
And she calls them pods a lot. And I kind of grind my teeth. And I finally said, why do you call them pods? I don't like that. She says, she got mad at me. We had a fight. She said, everybody calls them pods. What's wrong with calling them pods?
Doesn't make it right.
I said, it just bugs me. I think I said, ew.
Yeah.
and she's right. Because after she said that, I said, does everybody call them pods? And yeah, everywhere. Even sad to say, common. In the New York Times and elsewhere, you'll see.
The political podcasts say it a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
Maybe that's where she gets it, because she listens to the Daily and to Pod Save America and all that, and they call them pods. Right.
When people call a blog, and Ariana Huffington was the one who started this. When you call a blog post a blog,
I brought that up.
Crazy.
I brought that up. I said it's like calling a blog post a blog.
Right.
The blog
is the whole container.
We've lost. Yeah. I'm an old fart. That's what I basically came down to. Is I guess I'm just old fashioned, but that's just you know. I also like the Harvard comma. You know.
And I'm only kidding, Mr.
It's
Elgin,
Oxford,
just so you know.
All right, Oxford.
Harvards.
Call it whatever you want. I like to think of it as the Yale comma myself.
Uppity Americans.
Google Photo is. Wait a minute. Google's new feature. I like this. Ensures your pixel hasn't been hacked. You have this on your Chromebook. A little CRC or some sort of hash that says that the firmware hasn't been modified. Google calls it pixel binary transparency. If you have a pixel, it proves that the pixel handset is as intended, as delivered by Google, not one that's been modified at the software level. This is the existing Android verified boot feature does the same thing.
So in other words, not rooted.
Yeah, well,
the difference is that.
Go ahead.
The difference is that this is a tool that you can just arbitrarily say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to check to make sure that it's still an unmodified software on my system."
Nice.
You can just do that arbitrarily and not just when you're downloading it or whatever. So it's great. It's great for security-minded high-end users. Essentially, the great unwashed will not be using this feature.
Yeah. So the Android verified boot, the instant an Android device boots up, it looks for a software signature verifying that all's well, the software is untampered with, the boot process continues. I guess the pixel binary transparency you're saying is on demand.
Right.
Yeah. So that's good. You need both. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Google, I have to say, Google does a good job of security. I always trusted their security. Yep. I don't trust their economic motives, but I've always trusted their security. Google,
I like their security and their transparency.
Yes.
Things like Google Takeout, all that kind of stuff, where they tell you they'll show you everything you ever said to Google Assistant and so on. They're good in that sense, better than average.
Yeah. Although, have you ever tried to use a Google Takeout download?
Yeah. I have not.
Yeah. You got the data, but it's not exactly the form
it's
you
there,
might want.
I guess. Yeah. Well, I got everything from Google Plus, and it's just been sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of XML.
I unzipped it, and that was it. But I haven't opened it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So I have twice downloaded my entire Google Photos data set. Once manually unzipped it and processed it and had a bunch of scripts and stuff. That was a pain. One of our sponsors, Milio, imports them directly, does all that directly, and it actually does it. But it, unfortunately, and this is, I'm sure, Google's doing, it's lost the creation date on these things. So the creation date is wrong. So my pictures are sorting.
So it's based
weirdly.
on your download date.
Yeah, it's got all the Google Photos have a recent date. Google Photos is rolling out new editing tools for the web. This is one thing that always got me angry is Google bought Picasa, saying, we're going to incorporate all those tools into Google Photos. And then they did a little bit of it at a time. Now there's a new editor. It's Google's 9 to 5 Google blog posted it on, noted it on Monday. Look at the suggestions tab. There's preset color options, granular image adjustments. Aspect ratio tool has been enhanced. Basically, it's the same editing ability on the web now that you had on the mobile app. So there wasn't always parity. There is now. The web editor is available to everyone except for the dynamic option, which is only available if you're a subscriber to Google One. So play with your photos.google.
Recently, I was trying to use one of those magical tools of Google Photos where it would fix the focus for you. And my tools are not showing up on my phone. What am I doing wrong? I go to the photo inside of the camera app and the camera roll. I go to Google Photos and look there. It's not there. And I'm like, what happened?
Mike, you use Google Photos a lot. I know because I subscribe to your Nice Book. And
Yes.
And when we did the Gastronomad tour to Oaxaca last Halloween, you posted all those photos there, which was great. A great way for everybody to share their photos. Do you use the editing tools there, or?
I do. It depends on the how important the picture is. So for experiences, I use Apple Photos and other tools on my MacBook Pro for just snapshots and just random things. Maybe I'll just boost something a little bit in Google in the built-in tools on the iPad, which have been until now better than elsewhere. But yeah, the thing that's bothering me about Google Photos these days is that it seems to be getting slower and less capable.
It does feel slow, doesn't it?
I'll do a search and it just goes blank.
Yeah.
Right. And then I have to restart it, and it's just getting slower and more bogged down. And I just feel like they're kind of neglecting it, not throwing the resources on it. So this Nice Book was what I built to replace Facebook and tried to share it with as many people as possible. And it's still, I still like it. Like it's still,
it's wonderful.
I still use it, and it's just for friends and family and whatever. And it's just slices of life that has no other place to go. So, I recommend that people do that. Although I have some disgruntled Apple users who don't want to get anywhere near,
they can use the
Google
web.
Photos. Cough, Nadia, cough. But yeah, other than that, it's great. I have a bunch of albums that I use.
My favorite feature is the partner sharing. So when I take pictures and Lisa's in them, Lisa will get them in her Google Photos automatically. I don't have to think about it, because she would always say, "Oh, send me those pictures you took." Now it's just automatic. Same thing with my daughter. She wanted all the pictures I've ever taken, thousands.
Yeah.
So I just made
I share with Amira, like I get all of hers, she gets all of mine, and it's just super convenient. It's like you become indifferent to who takes the picture.
I do not use Gmail, but maybe if you do, you've noticed occasionally a new verify it's you prompt. This is happening when you attempt, quote, sensitive actions, either creating a new filter, existing filter, editing an existing filter, importing filters, when you add a new forwarding address from the forwarding and pop IMAP settings, when you enable IMAP access status, because bad guys might do it. So here's what you might see: a critical security alert, an attempt to set up forwarding in Gmail. Google stopped this attempt, but if this wasn't used, someone else has access to your account. And then you can click a box that says, "Oh, no, that's me. Verify it's you." Rolling out starting this week. Good. I don't have a problem with that. Google, email is the single most vulnerable point of attack for everybody. And your email account should be as secure as you can make it. Google TV is getting an update, which includes NFL Sunday Ticket integration just in time for the season.
Yes, sir.
And more free channels. I like Google TV. I use the $35 Chromecast with Google TV is great.
That's good.
It really does a good job. It's if you're looking for a 4K streamer, you don't want to spend $180 on an Apple TV, which is probably that or the Shield, the NVIDIA Shield, which is even more expensive. Those are probably the cream of the crop. But this, for the price, there's nothing better. I think it's better than a Roku even. Google TV. Getting an update for the big NFL.
College Hardhead just left for college, and I had to get his Google account to log in so he can watch YouTube TV up at college, because I had to log in at home. So it says, okay, he's in his home address.
Right.
Log out, and then he could fire it up in Northern Oregon. And then it says, okay, now you can watch it for 3 months.
Yeah, I think, by the way, that's the best deal of YouTube TV is you get 6 family members can use it. So everybody in my family has YouTube TV access and their own DVR and all of that.
And whenever that little prompt comes up, you just got to let me know, hey, can you log in at the house for me? Okay.
That's the big, so I was wondering, because that's the geographic, are you in your home area? Is this your new home area?
We tried
Are you
VPN
now in Oregon? And
so just logging in definitely.
So he'll text you and say, Dad, can you log in at home just so that they know that you haven't moved?
Just log in, let a video play for a few minutes, and that's it.
So expensive. I wish YouTube TV weren't so expensive.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's expensive.
It's basically a cable subscription. So turn off the cable.
But I only have it for 5 months.
You're just doing it for NFL. Yeah, smart.
Just for 5 months.
Gmail for Android and iOS has a new translate feature. Again, I don't use Gmail. Have you seen this? A native translate capability. Yeah. So it's on the server side. So when you get something in a language you don't normally speak, you can detect it and translate it.
That's pretty cool.
You probably get a lot of Spanish email and stuff, Mike. Or you do too.
No.
Yeah.
I still.
I mean, but the
go ahead.
Majority of the stuff that I get that is in another language is, fraudulent email of some kind or another. I mean, even though we travel a lot, everybody that I interact with via email speaks English and does, not only can, but does use English.
Right.
Because I was on that.
I guess there's a couple of exceptions.
Because I was on the CES Asia list. I still get some of the vendors from CES Asia from time to time. Because
my last name is French.
Yeah.
And my email is laporte@gmail.com.
Do you get a lot of love letters?
Yeah. I don't know what this means. Vous nous avez oublié? Votre magasin serait content de vous. I don't understand.
Magasin store.
You can show this. It's okay to show this. So notice it says oublié, I know means forgotten.
You have forgotten?
Have you forgotten me? Translate message. Have you forgotten us? Dear customer, your store would be happy to offer you new loyalty points during your next visit. Your store team. I don't know who the store is even. But I know it's...
See what I mean?
Yes, it's garbage. But I get a lot of French garbage.
I got a whole French one, and I hit the translate, and it was just instant.
Yeah. Watch. Here's a long one. Watch this. Go ahead, show it. Translate message.
Bonjour, Monsieur Laporte.
Hello, Mr. Laporte.
Hello, Mr. Laporte.
I'm sending you this email as part of your health guarantee and your online quote request. Are you still looking? I never looked. I'm in the United States, mate. So I don't know why Sarah Pommier is emailing me. Cross-border CMU or Lamal, everyone's health and welfare needs orthodontics, private room glasses. Oh, the big three.
Wait a minute.
Those are the big three.
Wow.
Orthodontics, private room, and glasses. Accident, death, and funeral. Those are the second big three. I don't know what this is, but now I can read it. And by the way, from now on, always translate French is something I can. So always translate French.
That's pretty cool.
Which is really not the right thing because now it's all going to be translated.
No, you don't know if it's what language it was originally in.
Right.
But the button will still be there saying it was translated, and you can see the original.
Will it? I'll always know. Okay.
I'll bet.
I have an autoresponder on here saying I no longer use this address. So, in fact, it actually says if you're sending me a message thinking I'm French, I am not, and it still doesn't stop them. If you're sending this email to anyone other than Leo Laporte of Petaluma, California, USA, you may have an incorrect address. And then I don't tell them what the new address is. I say, please ask me for my new address, because you're going to know me, right? I still get so much spam. And that's the Google changelog.
Every time I look over at your screen, I see this disturbing image.
That's a disturbing image of Rudy Giuliani really intently playing with his PS5, I think. Or is that an Xbox? I don't know.
While we went on, Ari Melber 2 hours ago, I think, had some great segment. The whole thing was mug shots from history. It's just mesmerizing.
Yeah.
To see them all go by.
I just want to know who this is and why she's so happy that she's being booked into the Fulton County Jail.
Well, I know why she's so happy. Your consultants tell you to smile in the mugshot.
Oh yeah, you don't want to look guilty.
It doesn't look like a mugshot,
right?
If you look sad and morose, then it's like all your opponents will use that endlessly.
Oh. Wow.
They always say smile, like do your hair, like wear a suit and tie if you're a man.
Feel like feel like you're just so happy to be
Fatal
there.
Attraction.
Rudy does
Sidney
not.
Powell's like Fatal Attraction.
Yeah. That is, by the way, Blue Sky. So
yeah, the meg shots are going all over
the place. T2, not so many, really. Maybe I'm right. I'm not following the right people.
They announced that their process in Georgia is that they give the height and weight and so on of everybody they book, and they're going to be booking companies that take bets for sports and stuff like that are taking bets on what Trump's weight is going to be.
Do they publish the weight?
Yes.
Oh God,
that's going to kill him.
Oh God, the ultimate humiliation.
285.
Yeah, 285. That sounds about right.
Yeah, about 285 because he's a tall dude too, right?
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
Yeah.
Well, I think his height has been exaggerated as well, so that's another point of.
Oh well, we get the height too.
Oh, that's a prop bet.
So I've already predicted on social media that whatever the published numbers are for his height and weight, he'll deny it and say it's fake news.
Rim shot.
So now your MSNBC report, because the TV's on in the background, Ronan Farrow's on talking about his Musk.
I'll have to watch that.
He did a long interview on CNN as well, which I saw before the show. So
I led with it because it's a little concerning. It's a little.
I just printed it out the whole thing to read tomorrow.
It's well worth reading but you have to have about 8 hours, like this show.
I put it in. I put that article into Instapaper, and it gives you an estimate of the reading time, and it said it's a 37-minute read.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not distracted by T2 every 2 minutes.
37-minute read.
Is that too long for people these days?
For a magazine article, that's pretty long.
You're not supposed to sit on the toilet for more than a few minutes, I think.
Why are you?
It's my New Yorker time. Don't bother me. Our show today.
That's now my TikTok time.
That's my TikTok time. Oh God, now I don't want to look at any TikToks. This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by, this is serious. Everybody should pay attention to this. Brought to you by the password manager I recommend Steve Gibson uses. We all use. Now, we're going to even use it corporate-wise. I got to tell you, first of all, job one, get a freaking password manager. Stop reusing passwords all the time on the sites. You're going to be subject to a credential stuffing attack. Somebody's going to break into a site, get your password, and try it on every site that you might be a member of. And if you use the same password more than once, you're in trouble. So but the problem is, I understand. Believe me, I understand. How do I remember these passwords? There's so many of them. That's why you need a password manager, which not only generates good, long, strong, totally random passwords that cannot be memorized, unless you really have a lot of free time, more than 37 minutes, but it remembers them for you, and then it encrypts them in a giant vault. Bitwarden is the one I use. It's the only open source cross-platform, works everywhere, Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, that you can use anywhere, anytime, even at work. We've all switched over. You should too. With Bitwarden, all the data in your vault is end-to-end encrypted, not just your passwords. What you say? Don't they all work that way? No. It turned out one of the big ones, one of our former sponsors, wasn't encrypting the sites you visited. So there was a whole record of every site you had a password for. That's not good. Bitwarden encrypts it all. Bitwarden is the best. In fact, in the summer 2023 G2 Enterprise Grid Report, they solidified their position as the highest performing password manager for enterprise, leaving competitors in the dust. That's why we're switching it at work. Bitwarden protects your data and privacy by adding strong, randomly generated passwords for every account. But it goes another step farther. It also will do a unique username for every account. They have a username generator, and you can even create a dummy email address. Now, you might say, but I need that address to work. Yes, it works with our sponsor, Fastmail, and I think 4 other, including Firefox, email providers. So they integrate in with Fastmail. And Fastmail goes, oh, yeah, we'll create a random address, and we'll make that your login, and we'll make sure that mail gets to you. But that's great, because then the bad guy not only has to guess a password, they have to guess a weird email address. And because it's open source, you can look at every bit of the code on GitHub. Not only public to the world, but it's also public, and they do this every year, third-party professional audits, and they publish the results publicly on their website. So this is open source security you can really trust. You can just verify that it really works as advertised. They have lots of nice features. We're going to use the Bitwarden Enterprise Organization Plan. That's $5 per month per user. Bitwarden also has a Teams organization option, $3 per month per user. A lot of additional features like the ability to share private data securely with coworkers across departments or even the entire company. Plans are completely customizable and adaptive. But here's important for individuals. Bitwarden's basic free account is always free for individuals. They're open source. They don't have a choice. It's always free for individuals. So now I pay for the premium account. That means I can use two-factor, and that's $10 a year. And I did it actually as much to support them as anything else. But the basic free account is cross-platform, unlimited passwords. It's not hobbled in any way. They even have a family plan, up to 6 users, premium features, $3.33 a month. I'm very happy to support these guys. They make the best password manager in the business. They've just launched their new Bitwarden Secrets Manager. Actually, it's out in beta, which is important for developers. How many times have developers, this happens all the time, I'm sad to say, they put API secrets like their S3 bucket keys in the source code? Yeah, for ease of use, but then that source code gets committed up to Git or somewhere in public, and now the secrets are out. The Secrets Manager makes it easy. It keeps it secret, but it still works. It's really good. Visit bitwarden.com/secretsbeta if you want to test that out. Look, you need a password manager, bottom line. Get started with Bitwarden's free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan, or just get started for free across all devices, unlimited passwords as an individual user, free. Bitwarden.com/twit. This is just a no-brainer. Easy to use too. If you have family members who are not computer sophisticates, they go, I don't know. They're Post-it noting all the passwords or something. Help them out. Get them secure. Bitwarden.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support this week in Google. Thank you, Bitwarden. I think we're almost at the end of the show. Jeff, is there anything I missed? Do you have?
No, I think we're
okay.
We need one tribute.
A tribute
to John Warnock.
Yeah, and we did a long one yesterday on MacBreak Weekly. John Warnock, one of the founders of Adobe with John Geschke. It's actually a great story. Go look at his Wikipedia. He passed away this week at the age of 82. Warnock was working at, I think it was Evans and Sutherland. And he created PostScript. Eventually brought that to Xerox PARC, where he met Geschke. PostScript, of course, was the foundation for the portable document format.
PostScript was the end of the Gutenberg age.
Oh, interesting.
When letters weren't letters anymore. They were descriptions.
They were
of
code.
shapes.
They were code.
Yep.
He actually was a mathematician. His earliest publication, the subject of his master's thesis, a proof. This is in 1964. Of a theorem solving the Jacobson radical for row finite matrices. Thank you, John.
Fun guy.
In 1969, his PhD thesis, the Warnock algorithm for hidden surface determination in computer graphics. Now, in 69, this was really, all the graphics were just lines, where they were outlines, right? And he, because of this, made it possible for a computer with very limited capability to create surfaces. It was because of that we could see solid surfaces.
Plus, I think he also used, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong and someone will correct me, but there was some auto design, as in automobile design software that enabled the description of of curves and things. And that, at least in part, inspired PostScript.
Yeah. PostScript, I actually remember it was kind of Forth-like. It was a stack-based language. It was a weird language. But the Apple PostScript.
No, I thought you said something else.
Forth. It was Forth-like, which is a stack-based language. It was the language for the Apple laser writer. This is really what ended Gutenberg here.
Right.
And you could write code.
Where's this dadgum fly?
Dadgum fly.
It's been
self-hating Leo is hitting himself.
You could write code.
No, Leo, don't hurt yourself. It's okay.
You could write code that would actually print something. It was kind of fun. It was kind of cool. That became PDFs. In 1986, his wife Marva was a graphics designer. You might be old enough to remember these, Jeff. Remember those weird curvy plastic rulers that you would use to do Bezier curves?
Yes.
She would pull out the ruler and be doing curves. And he looked at it and said, you know, we probably could do that in software. Invented something called Adobe Illustrator that would actually do those curves for her. He did it for his wife in the late 80s. In 1991, he outlined a system called Camelot, which eventually became PDFs. And of course,
what we might curse on the one hand. On the other hand, it really changed publishing tremendously.
Absolutely.
Created a standard that anything could be produced anywhere, and made a big difference.
One of the pioneers of the computer industry, and you know, I think certain younger generations don't really know these names, but you and I do, Jeff, because we've been around a while and we're old, and it's really important to mention them. These don't come out of nowhere. There's somebody who sat there and invented it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. And he was one of the greats. So we thank him. John Warnock died at the age of 82.
Pancreatic cancer takes another one.
Yeah. We're all in cancer's waiting room, Jeff.
Tell me about it.
You actually got invited in, I believe. Let us do our picks of the week, I think. Yes. Yeah. If there's nothing else I'm glad you mentioned Warnock. I definitely wanted to mention that.
I'm getting hungry, so I didn't want to extend it too much.
All right. Cacio e Pepe time.
I think it's important.
Yeah, just be glad you're not getting mug shots.
Dude, it's 5 o'clock. It's really 5 o'clock. What's it?
5 o'clock.
How does this show
time flies, man. When you're having fun.
Well, that's, to me, that's always, people say, why do you let these shows go so long? Because I'm having fun. I don't know how long it's been. Mike, Mike, we're going to give you a name for we used to call it Stacy's Thing. We're going to call it Mike's Goods. What is,
I got the goods, man.
Give me some goods. You said you were going to give us something big.
You got the goods.
I got three things. We'll start with the most frivolous. So if you use generative AI tools to create images, right, with text prompts, and if those images contain words or letters, it's gibberish. The AI is dumb. It doesn't know what a word is or what a letter is when it's doing visual AI, right? So it creates things that look like letters and it puts it in your image.
Oh, they're terrible though. Yeah, that's one of the giveaways of an AI generated graphic is that the text looks like Greek.
Right. So there's a new AI tool called Textify. So you take one of those images that's been generated with AI, you put it in here, and then you tell it, you can give it actual words in place of the fake words that it has. And it's just a way to make
more fake news and
AI
deep fakes, Mike.
More fake news, right? Real words in it, and you can say where you want the words.
Really good, Mike.
Decide the size and all that kind of stuff. So this is useful for if you've ever been frustrated by an image that has gibberish words in it. You can put now real words in it, or no words. You can replace it, and that's what that's for.
Cool.
So Textify.storia.ai.
So here's an example, and then what do? It's 51%.
You sort of select the gibberish.
Oh, I have to say, this is what you should fix.
Right. You have to cover it completely. And then you type in the words you want and it puts it in that typeface.
Oh,
with the background.
I can tell you use command line because you're horrible with a mouse.
Yes. So I don't know what the caption of that would be.
What this does. Okay. And then Phanky Qipek.
I like that the way it is, but no.
Okay.
I think Qipek used to be a webcam manufacturer.
Textify. And it gives you options. It gives you multiple versions. And of course, it's using AI to do this.
So it's
like an AI tool to compensate for another AI tool.
Nice. Textify.
Ready in 45 minutes.
Storia. This is,
I guess, by next week's show, we'll see
Storia.ai. Storia.ai. And here we go. And so
there we go.
Here it is. Then we can just see. Let's just see what this.
But it did change the background.
At the docks.
It cut it off a little bit.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Sometimes it's better than other times.
That's
so
on you.
It depends on.
Yeah.
I think
I screwed up.
If you're more precise with the drawing the box, I think it does a little better. But it's something to play with and some way to quickly improve.
That's cool.
Those kind of images. Okay.
Stop, Leo. Stop.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to. I need a command line.
Good grief.
Let's go to the terminal. All right. Also, here's one from Google. Right. You want to do that one? What do you want to do next?
Before we get to the Google one,
save that one.
I want to do one called Unriddled. Now, this is the one I predict you want to use during shows. Okay, so what this does?
Oh gosh, during shows.
Yes, because when you're, let's say,
I'm trying to read something that I've never seen before and understand it.
And
yeah,
you're very good at reading and talking at the same time. But this might be an easier way. So they Unriddle is a place where you can either use it as a text editor and it will do AI based, like it'll fill in the blanks, it'll finish your sentences, it'll do all the things that AI text editors do, but that's not what you would use it for. So the second option is something called upload. So you can paste text in, you can give it a URL and it'll get the text from the URL, or you can put in a PDF. So let's say you have a story and you have a very complex story about legislation around tech or something like that. You can put in 3 or 4 stories by copying and pasting it into the same item on the list on the left, right? And then instead of going through all this text trying to find the date when so-and-so was appointed the head of this agency or something like that, you just ask.
Oh, that's great.
Document, say, hey, when did he leave? When did this happen? Summarize this. Explain this to me like I'm 5. It'll take a gigabyte of text and it'll give you a paragraph that gives you the main points. And then you can interrogate that paragraph. So it's a way to rapidly get and extract data and summarization and all those things out of a document. But the best part for doing this during a podcast is that each story can have its own thing, and each thing can have as many articles as you want. You can put in Wikipedia pages, you can put in all this kind of stuff, and that's the topic of that discussion, which you can interrogate all of it at once very quickly and get summaries that are ready for, and again, this is not treacherous like OpenAI. This is not just all the data. This is just the data you put in there. And so if you put in good data, you're going to get good output from this. So I would recommend trying this during a show and see if it's faster than actually talking and reading at the same time. Which
I like this. I can take a 10Q financial filing and have it and ask queries of it. Did NVIDIA make money this year based on this balance sheet? Well, that's cool. It's not it's free for a small number.
Very small. You have to pay at least $16 a month for this.
Right.
To have it be useful.
Unriddled.ai.
Unriddled.ai. Okay. Yeah. The third one is from Google. So I'm a big proponent, have become a big proponent of using AI to improve your writing and improve your ability to write well, as opposed to the opposite. So instead of just doing what some of these sophomore and high school kids are doing and just having ChatGPT write their essay and they put it in, and when the teacher reads it, it says, as a generative AI text bot, I believe blah, 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 and then they're getting flunked out of school. No, don't use AI like that.
They should be. Yes.
So to me, the number one benefit of AI, generative AI for a writer is that it can help you discover your blind spots, the things that you're missing, like about a topic. It can suggest areas to investigate. It can improve very quickly your ability to write. Another way to do it is you want to use AI as a sounding board. And so this tool from Google that they came out with earlier this month called TextFX basically lets you take a word, say, okay, you know what? Create similes about this word, explode it into similar sounding phrases. And it's kind of directed at rappers, actually, but it's also good for writers. It helps you explore, because too often people are lazy writers and they say, okay, how would I say this? And they type what they would say. That's not a good way if you want to be a thoughtful writer. Words have histories, they have implications, they have connotations, they have all this. Every word in the English language comes with all this baggage that's helpful for a writer if you want to really paint the right picture. So it helps you like bounce off all these ideas. It'll show you, it'll give you a list of alliteration. It'll create acronyms for you. It's a way to take words and phrases and play with them and to see how that sparks your mind to improve your writing and improve your ability to write. So this is a really actually fascinating, brilliant tool for writers that doesn't just write it for you. It actually improves your ability to write.
So create an acronym using the letters of a word. Mug shot. I don't know why I'm thinking that. And now it says, okay, my ugly grin shines here on this. Very nice. Very nicely done.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
This is good for creative headline writing. This is good for if you're a fiction writer, you want to get into descriptions, you want to paint pictures, you want to have it, you really want to explore language. This is really, really an interesting tool. And I think it's fascinating.
As Mike Elgin says, elegant language generates artful notes.
Yes.
That's
what Elgin stands for.
That's what Elgin stands for. Wow. This is a with Google experiment. So this is really interesting. Yeah, the TextFX project at textfxwithgoogle.com. Interesting. Really interesting. Yeah, I'll play. A lot of these are toys. This feels like a toy, but I guess it could be a tool if you.
As a writer, I often find myself there's a word in my sentence that lands with a thud, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't like the way it sounds. I don't like the way it feels and looks. And so I want to just put that word in and just like inspire me to think differently than I'm thinking right now. And I think it's somewhat useful.
These are like prompts, like to get you evaluate a topic through different points of view or build a chain of semantically related items. So email, and then see what it email, computer, keyboard, letter, post office, letterbox, mail, mailbox. So it's like a thesaurus would help you. Frankly, I use the Oxford English Dictionary to understand the deep nuance of a word. I guess I could throw those out now because...
Well, what I used to use, or what I still do use, I think one of the most powerful tools is etymology dictionaries, the Oxford English.
Love it.
Etymology dictionary, because the etymology is where
that's really what the OED is for, is like when was this word first used. So I asked it to give me a simile about bird books. A bird book is like a door to a secret world, opening up a whole new realm of possibilities for the imagination. That sounds very AI. Very AI. And what's this temperature thing do? This slider.
I have no idea.
No one does.
But turn up the temperature and run it.
Podcast.
Just like the sliders in Stable Diffusion.
It's just
no
idea
what they mean.
Yeah, but you don't need to know. So podcast. Let's get a simile. A podcast is like a warm blanket on a cold night. It's comforting, informative, and always there when you need it. Yeah.
A blanket isn't really informative, is it?
It's an informative blanket. Not just any blanket. It's an informative blanket.
It's like a blanket with text on it.
But, this gets you thinking about similes, right? Mm-hmm. For rappers, break a word into similar sounding phrases. Diaper. Let's see.
That's a good word for a rap song.
Rapper. Do a pier, hang out with a friend. A diaper's here, but I got to mend. There's a hole in the bottom and it's leaking out. I don't know. I just
what are you talking about?
I just got a little rap going there. That's I'm freestyling, you know.
Freestyle.
Me and Lil Wayne.
That's
enough. That's enough. That's quite enough of that.
Nice.
How about you, Jeff Jarvis? What do you got?
I'm going to be quick.
You're hungry.
One number.
Now, are you taking Stacy's waffle crown? Is that what you're doing? Now it's going to be him that's hungry all the time.
No, it's all right. It's 8:16 here, and I got to be up at 5.
Oh, God. Quickly.
To go to Philadelphia again.
On the whole, I'd rather be dead.
I got third prize, yeah. I love Philly. I'm just joking. Sorry. I love Philly. To our twit flight earlier, a quick mention that LinkedIn is cool now, says Bloomberg. 41% more content on the network.
You know why? Because it's all AI generated.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot of people. Lisa loves it.
I like LinkedIn.
A lot of people like LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm using it more to.
It's better than the hot stuff that's out there. Yeah. Good.
And very quickly, TikTok corner after last week's discussion about Duke Mayo.
Yes.
Verified here that Duke's Mayo, you're right, Ant, is the thing to use.
Damn right it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you some guy eating mayo.
Simplest ingredients. It has to be an heirloom heritage tomato, fully ripe.
Wait till you see how white the bread is that he uses. Look at that.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's good ingredients.
Bread,
that's the whitest.
Duke's mayonnaise.
Yeah, because it matches your
the
bread.
same color as the
if you want it. But to me, that's just a heavenly expression of summer.
Not a sponsor, but I dig
like it. And those types
love
of bread
tomato
are the only ones
sandwiches.
that really do
But I ain't putting on that bread.
Tomato sandwich. Sourdough bread or some of the more refined types of bread, they just don't cut it for a tomato sandwich.
Tell it, brother. Tell it.
It's got to be
You're highfalutin
Wonder
bread out of here.
I found that for you, Ant.
There you go. TikTok meets Duke's Mayo. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll close things out with Ant's Thing of the Week.
My thing, very quickly, I've spoken about Vegas Pro, the video editor, before.
Very powerful, yeah.
It's continuing to get updates. The price is, you can get it now for $300 for a perpetual license, just like DaVinci Resolve. But in the latest update, they have integrated with another company I've spoken of, is Boris Effects, which has their chroma keying tools and their tracking tools, which is really, really, really good. So all of that integrated into the package just really helps step up this product and make them worthy competition, in my opinion. And lastly, a shout out to my man, Mr. Harry Williams. He's doing the Freeform Living Light Expo this weekend in downtown San Francisco, featuring one of his friends as an artist, and he'll also have some of his photos there. So if you're interested in checking out some art, feel free to check him out Saturday in San Francisco. But I'd rather you drive on up to Petaluma on Saturday.
Yes.
At the same time for our photo walk.
We got us a photo walk.
Downtown Petaluma.
Yeah.
So check that out, 6 o'clock Saturday, right there in the little park next to Petaluma Pie Company.
Are you going to stop and get some pie on the way?
No comment.
All right. Here is, it cost me $9.99 to export our fly-through.
Okay.
Are you ready? From the Twit Studios to your ears. What happened to me?
Look at you.
Look at.
Oh, jeez.
Whoa.
No humans allowed.
I disappeared.
I guess, yeah, things are disappearing. That was John running away. See him? He's disappearing.
That's weird.
But it does smooth it out very nicely.
It's pretty.
Yeah, this is the HD version for $10.
Man, this looks like old
Something
dude
weird going on
from
with
what's his name? Thanos.
Thanos is dissolving the Twit Studios. I had to take a look at Burke's Nest. Oh, it's weird. What's happening?
Look at that. Oh, it does some weird.
How much of it is cropped from the original? Do you know?
It took out, let's see, the original was 1:37 and the final was 57 seconds.
I mean, cropped out from the sides and the top.
Dude, I don't know.
Look at your head.
Look
Are
at
you
that.
okay,
It's
Mr.
humans.
Benito? Are you okay?
I got to say, the result is not impressive.
Okay,
Not impressive, no. Maybe you went too fast. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm probably, it's my fault. Sure.
Boy, but yeah.
Holding her
Sorry
on,
for the $10 you just went through.
Hey, for you, anything. That is Mr. Jeff Jarvis. You know, he's the director of the Townite Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism. Gutenberg. That's the University of New York. If you want to buy his book, Gutenberg, what is it? The Gutenberg
Gutenberg.com.
No, do read it. It's actually great. It's great reading. Because the audiobook isn't out yet, Lisa makes me read it to her every night to go to sleep.
I got new reading glasses so I could read it.
Did you really? Good for you.
And started reading it last night. So.
Ant's website, antpruitt.com/prints. Get the prints, because he's a prince among men. Thank you, Mr. Pruitt. Also, doing great work in our Club Twit with all of the events, that Dan Patterson event last night. And I tell you what, we got some good ones coming up. If you're not a member of Club Twit.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot coming up the rest of the year, sir.
You've been busy. That photo walk Saturday, Stacy's book club, Daniel Suarez and Hugh Howie's fireside chat, Lou Maresca. And you got John Scalzi.
And Mr. Scalzi.
How'd that happen?
Mr. Scalzi. He will be
one of the greats
with us in October.
One of the greats. Wow.
So I'm looking forward to that.
And then Anthony Nielsen will explain. He's our prompt master. He's amazing. An AMA with the great Renee Ritchie. And then December 7th, a day that will live in infamy, the Old Farts fireside chat with me, Jeff, and Doc Sears. A day that will live in infamy.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Thank you, Ant. Appreciate all you do in the club. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Mike, so great to see you. You are off for
great to see you.
Where next?
Milan.
Ooh,
yes.
Nice.
And we're going to take a train across Italy and go to Venice. And yeah, looking forward to it. As always, we have a lot of friends in Italy. Yeah, absolutely.
Stay in touch when you're at somewhere with good internet. We'll get you on the show again.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yes.
And can I plug experiences?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Okay. So if you don't know, my wife does gastronomad experiences. These are food and wine experiences that typically last a week. And the next ones coming up are all in Latin America. So we have Mexico City in November. We have Oaxaca in December. And we have El Salvador. Our first ever El Salvador experience.
I did the Oaxacan one, Day of the Dead, a couple of years ago. It was unbelievable. I cannot recommend these more highly. It's a small group. Mike and Amira are most wonderful hosts. You're all staying in a beautiful mansion that they book. They take you to the best restaurants in town, the best chefs, the best wine, the best mezcal. It is unbelievable.
Yes.
And this is your first El Salvador trip. Of course, Amira, your wife, is from El Salvador, so that's going to be pretty impressive.
We've been looking forward to this for a long time, and it's finally going to happen. So if, Latin America, like a lot of people are, if you're not familiar with Mexico City, Oaxaca, or places like El Salvador, it's a little bit intimidating to go to these places. We take you right into the center of the culture where we have all these friends that
there's Julia.
And we also know everything. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So if you'd like to join us on any of those, we'd love to have you. And those are the ones coming up next.
Nice. So, nice. Gastronomad.net. It is, I cannot recommend it. It's not tourism. It's travel in the best sense of the word, where you're really in the community and you get to be part of something warm and
Mike
wonderful.
will guarantee you that in none of these experiences will you have chicken pot pie. This is imagination.
You are correct, sir. You are correct. Or
a la king?
Chicken a la king.
No chicken a la king.
It's not happening.
Nope.
Yeah, it's not happening.
We had the best food in Oaxaca I've ever had. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I still dream about it.
So good.
That's where I'd like to go.
So good. And the food in Mexico City is comparable and excellent in its own way. In fact, two restaurants in Mexico City are in the top 10 in the world for restaurants. The two highest rated in North America are Mexico City. Wow. And they're both Oaxacan influenced restaurants, which I think is interesting. So I thank you for that, Leo. And also a quick shout out. We talk a lot about AI. My son has a product, Chatterbox. If you're an educator,
hello, Chatterbox.
Hello. If you're an educator or a parent, go to hellochatterbox.com and check out my son's product. It's an excellent way to introduce kids to AI in a safe way that is not going to lead to them being exposed to inappropriate material or them cheating or anything like that. It's all about learning about AI, which is very, very important, we think, for kids. So hellochatterbox.com.
Yeah, he couldn't be better positioned for this AI revolution. Yeah. It really is a way to learn. And you've added ChatGPT, Midjourney. So kids are going to safely get to learn what these are and what they aren't. And have voice assistants too. It's really a cool project. hellochatterbox.com. And especially
they build the tool, and then the student or the teacher can use the tool for education on any subject. So it's really brilliant.
This would be a very good gift to a local school. If you've got kids in an elementary school, or you want to support your local elementary school, take a look at the classroom bundle, because this would be such a great thing for the curriculum.
Yes.
I just really think this is the kind of technology education we really, really need.
Yeah.
Is it K through 6 mostly? Can you do older kids?
He typically looks at 8 and up, and so it's usually middle school and up, and he actually has a lot of adults who use this. Universities in Europe that use it, and so on. So yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, Mike Elgin. Thank you, Aunt Pruitt.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, JJ.
Thank you.
Go have something to eat, and thank you all for joining us. We do This Week in Google every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC at live.twit.tv. There's always something going on Twit Live. You can ask your assistant, whether it's a Google Assistant or an Echo, I suppose Siri. I don't know. It might say, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But you say, I want to listen to Twit Live, and you might have to say on YouTube or tune in or something, but it'll play it for you. And then you can listen. You can just have it on when we do the show or any other time. If you're watching live, chat live, irc.twit.tv. Of course, Club Twit has its own Discord, a great place to be. We've recently reorganized that. I know it might be a little jarring to the existing Club Twit members, but it's really better. You'll figure it out. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Maybe we'll record something so we can put it up there so people can see how to use the new Discord organization. Same content, new organization. And then, of course, after the fact, on-demand versions of this show at twit.tv/twig. That's our website, twit.tv/twig. Or, you can go to YouTube and look for This Week in Google. There's a whole channel with every show on there, the video. Or subscribe to audio or video in your favorite podcast client. The best way to get it. That way you get it automatically the minute it's available. You've heard me mention Club Twit. If you're not in the club, please join. We'd love to have you. twit.tv/club twit. Hey, that's it for This Week in Google. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, I'm Rod Pyle, Editor-in-Chief of Ad Astra Magazine, and each week I join with my co-host to bring you This Week in Space, the latest and greatest news from the final frontier. We talk to NASA chiefs, space scientists, engineers, educators, and artists, and sometimes we just shoot the breeze over what's hot and what's not in space, books, and TV. And we do it all for you, our fellow true believers. So whether you're an armchair adventurer or waiting for your turn to grab a slot in Elon's Mars rocket, join us on This Week in Space and be part of the greatest adventure of all time.